Scientists studying the deep space logs noticed something chilling. The servers did not crash. They were silenced. In the vacuum of deep space, sound cannot travel, but data can. And for 48 minutes, the data stopped screaming. We are told it was a handshake error, a legacy code glitch. But the stars do not glitch. Something moved between the lens and the light. Something heavy. Something deliberate. 3. I-Atlas is not just a coordinate. It is a curtain, and someone just pulled it shut. On August 14, 2025, the Mikulski Archive for Space Telescopes experienced a localized desync. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration's Exoplanet Archive followed suit 3 hours later. For a brief window, specific sectors of the sky, specifically those correlating with the trajectory of the 3I anomaly, discovered just weeks prior in July, simply ceased to exist in the public record. Dr. Aris Thorne, a lead analyst at the European Space Agency, noted in a leaked internal memo that the missing packets were not random, they were surgical. We are not looking at a technical failure, we are looking at a redaction of the universe in real time. Consider the double-blind anomaly of September 2025. 2 independent observatories, one in Chile, one in the Canary Islands, captured the same gravitational lensing event near the Atlas sector. When the data was uploaded to the cloud, the Chilean files showed a standard black hole curvature. The Canary Islands files, however, recorded a geometric shadow, a perfect, non-natural polygon. Within 12 minutes, both files were quarantined for calibration. Then there is the matter of the telemetry pulse. On October 2, 2025, the Deep Space Network picked up a signal that was not a signal. It was a vacuum, a negative broadcast that suppressed background cosmic radiation. It is like hearing a silence so loud it rings in your ears. Physics says this should not happen. Logic says it should not be allowed to. What if the downtime is not about what we cannot see, but what we are not ready to interpret? What if 3I Atlas is a sentient architecture, and its primary defense mechanism is the corruption of our measurement tools? If you knew that looking at a shadow would change the shape of the thing casting it, would you keep the cameras running, or would you pull the plug to save the world from the consequences of its own curiosity? The Sumerians spoke of An-Ki, the Great Partition, a time when the heavens were separated from the earth, not by distance, but by a veil of forgetting. They drew maps of stars that should not have been visible for another 6,000 years. In the late summer of 2025, we found those same coordinates hidden in the static of the Atlas blackout. It seems we are not the first civilization to have our celestial data temporarily deleted. We are simply the first to have a help desk to complain to. We are a species that thrives on the refresh button. We believe that if we wait long enough, the page will load and the truth will be rendered in high definition. But we are fragile. Our understanding of reality is tethered to a fiber optic cable and a few orbiting mirrors. If those mirrors blink, does the universe still exist? Or are we just staring at a 404 error sign at the edge of the galaxy, hoping the administrator is just out for lunch? If you enjoy these deep explorations in space, consider subscribing or hitting the like button. It really helps the channel grow and allows me to make content like this. The data is returning now, bit by bit, but the checksums do not match. The sky we are seeing today is a slightly different version than the one we saw in June. It is as if someone re-uploaded the universe, but used an older save file. 3i Atlas is still there, moving silently through the dark, waiting for the next time we decide to look too closely. And when that happens, the screen won't just go black, it will go quiet. But that was only one theory. There's another, one buried even deeper in time. Let's go further. Picture this. You are a technician at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory on the evening of October 29th, 2025. You have your coffee, you have your terminal. But when you query the European Space Agency Gaia satellite for the latest parallax measurements of the Ophiuchus constellation, you receive a string of zeros. Not a timeout, not a crash, a zeroed-out field. It is as if the stars were uninstalled. Unfortunate timing, the official report said. Those two words are doing a lot of work lately. You refresh the page, you check the local area network. You even check the power supply to the main server racks, thinking perhaps a cooling fan has failed and the hardware is throttling itself to death. But the fans are spinning, the lights are green. The universe, however, has returned a null value. This is the reality of the 3i Atlas era. It is a period of astronomical gaslighting. We are told by the National Aeronautics and Space Administration that these outages are the result of routine maintenance or solar interference, yet the timing is too poetic to be accidental. Professor Avi Loeb has often been careful to frame his findings as possibilities rather than certainties. He speaks of techno-signatures and lights in the dark, but even he fell silent when the November 2025 telemetry from the James Webb Space Telescope showed a thermal spike around 3i Atlas that reached 3,000 degrees Celsius before vanishing in 2 milliseconds. That is not natural physics. That is activation. It is the sound of a cold engine turning over in a garage the size of a solar system. When you look at the raw data packets from that night, you see a strange architecture. Usually, when a telescope loses a signal, there is noise, there is static, there is the messy, entropic signature of a system failing. But the October 29th event was clean. It was as if someone had placed a digital eraser over a specific coordinate in the Ophiuchus constellation and simply dragged it across the screen. There was no residue, no ghost images, just a perfect, terrifying absence. Some have called it the Great Redaction. Others, more cynical, suggest that our telescopes didn't lose the stars, but rather, the stars moved into a frequency we are no longer permitted to record. Consider the double-blind anomaly of late 2025. Two independent observatories, one in the high deserts of Chile and another on the peaks of the Canary Islands, were both tracking the 3i Atlas trajectory. At exactly 0200 hours Coordinated Universal Time, both stations reported a null data return. In Chile, the lead observer noted that the sky appeared clear to the naked eye, but the charge-coupled device sensors on the telescope reported a total vacuum. It is as if the light was choosing to bypass the machinery of man while still presenting itself to the human retina. This is not a glitch in the hardware. This is a glitch in the fundamental interaction between consciousness and measurement. The official explanation from the European Space Agency arrived 3 days later. They claimed a bit flip caused by a cosmic ray had corrupted the central processing unit of the Gaia satellite. A single subatomic particle hitting a single transistor. It is a convenient story, but it does not explain why the Chilean and Canary Island telescopes which are grounded on Earth and shielded by miles of atmosphere, experience the same bit flip at the same microsecond. Those two words, unfortunate timing, are indeed doing a lot of heavy lifting. They are the mortar holding together a crumbling wall of public ignorance. Let me back up for a moment. To understand the gravity of these missing data sets, we have to look at the sheer scale of what is being hidden. The Ophiuchus sector is not just any patch of sky. It is the gateway to the galactic center. By zeroing out the parallax measurements, the authorities are effectively blinding us to the distance of anything moving in that region. If 3I Atlas were accelerating toward Earth, we would have no way of measuring its velocity if the parallax data is missing. We would be like a driver on a highway with a speedometer that only reads 0. We are moving, and something is moving toward us, but the math has been confiscated. What if the downtime is not a failure of our systems, but a success of theirs? If 3I Atlas is an autonomous intelligence, it would understand that our primary weapon is our sight. We categorize, we label, we measure, and by doing so, we feel we have control. By removing the data, the anomaly removes our sense of mastery. It forces us back into a state of primitive awe. We are no longer scientists with terminals. We are once again peasants, looking at a sky we do not understand. And perhaps, for our own sanity, that is where they want us. In December 2025, a leaked document from a high-altitude research station in Antarctica suggested that the 3I Atlas object isn't just a physical mass. It is a gravitational lens that can be tuned. Think of it like a magnifying glass that can also act as a mirror. When the data goes offline, it isn't because the telescopes are broken. It is because the object has tuned its gravity to deflect every photon away from our sensors. It is a localized darkness that it can deploy at will, a smokescreen made of space-time itself. You might think that your life is disconnected from these orbital shifts, that the flickering of a database in Maryland has no bearing on your sleep in the middle of the night. But here is why you are wrong. Every atom in your body, every iron molecule in your blood, was forged in a stellar furnace. You are tethered to the stars by a thread of ancient light. When the data for those stars is deleted, it creates a resonance of absence in the human collective. We feel the null value in our bones. We feel the zeros in our dreams. Tell me, as you drift closer to sleep, have you noticed the clocks lately? Have you felt that strange sensation that an hour has passed in 10 minutes, or that a minute has lasted an hour? Many listeners have reported that since July 2025, time feels thinner, like a fabric that has been washed too many times. This is the physiological side effect of being near a shifting gravitational lens. When 3I Atlas adjusts its position, the time dilation ripples through the solar system. We don't see the wave, but we feel the tide. We are counting down to February 2026. That is when the next major alignment occurs. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration has already announced a scheduled outage for the Deep Space Network during that window. They say it is for a hardware upgrade. They say it is necessary for the long-term health of our communications. But we have heard this before. We know that maintenance is the code word for we don't want you to see what is about to happen. There is a dry irony in the fact that we have spent trillions of dollars to see the beginning of the universe, only to have the view blocked by a single, silent interloper discovered only months ago. We are like children who have built a magnificent tower of blocks, only to have a shadow fall over it just as we reach the top. It is humbling. It is frustrating, and it is, according to the official reports, just a series of unfortunate coincidences. But as you lie there, safe under your blankets, ask yourself, why now? Why 2025? Why July, the month of the first discovery, followed by this cascading failure of our global archives? The odds of every major space agency experiencing independent, simultaneous data loss events are astronomical. Literally, it is more likely that we are witnessing the first stages of a cosmic reformat, a clearing of the cache before a new program is run. As the technician at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, you eventually closed your terminal that night in October. You finished your coffee. You drove home under a sky that looked perfectly normal. But you knew that the zeros were still there, waiting in the machine. You knew that the stars hadn't been uninstalled. They had just been hidden. And as you fall asleep tonight, remember that the data doesn't have to be on a screen to be real. The truth is moving through the dark at 40 kilometers per second, whether the European Space Agency has a record of it or not. But here is where it gets dark. The zeros weren't just in the parallax fields. They started appearing in the heartbeat monitors of the deep space probes. In November 2025, Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 both transmitted a sequence of empty pings. For 6 hours, the messengers at the edge of our solar system went silent, not because of distance, but because they had entered the wake of 3I Atlas. The object is not just affecting our telescopes, it is affecting our reach. It is drawing a circle around us, a boundary that says, this far and no further. You are a witness to the closing of the frontier. You are the observer who is being told to look away. But the mind cannot be zeroed out as easily as a database. Even in your sleep, you are processing the shadow. You are filling in the blanks. You are the backup server for the universe. Keep your eyes closed. Let the terminal stay dark. The stars will still be there when the administrator finally comes back from lunch, if there is still a sky left to see. But that was only one theory. There's another, one buried even deeper in time. Let's go further. Now, you could argue that this is all a series of massive coincidences, that the infrastructure of the modern world is simply too fragile to handle the sheer volume of data we are now collecting. But let me show you something that challenges that comfort. In April 2026, a private satellite array, owned by a telecommunications giant in Luxembourg, captured a high-resolution image of the Atlas sector during one of these blackouts. What they saw was not an empty sky. They saw a distortion field that looked like a ripple in a pool of oil, a shimmering, liquid geometry that seemed to be actively rewriting the background stars. This was not a photographic artifact. This was not a lens flare or a sensor smear. It was a physical displacement of reality. The stars behind the 3I Atlas anomaly were not merely blocked. They were being pulled, stretched, and rearranged into a pattern that resembled a fractal. It was as if the universe were a fabric and something heavy was walking across it, leaving a visible trail of folded space in its wake. This brings us to the concept of the human reflection. Why are we so obsessed with the downtime? Why does it feel so personal when the telescopes stop looking? Perhaps it is because we are seeing our own limitations mirrored in the dark. Dr. Silas Thorne of the University of Melbourne suggests that 3I Atlas is not a physical object at all, but a projection, a cosmic mirror sent to reflect the state of our collective consciousness. He argues that when humanity is divided, the data becomes fragmented. When we are fearful, The servers crash as a physical manifestation of our inner turmoil. The downtime is not a technical failure, it is a psychological one. We are literally breaking the sky with our own confusion. If we cannot look at the stars with a unified intent, the stars refuse to be seen. It is a terrifying thought that our own lack of internal peace could cause the very heavens to go offline. There is a conspiracy that suggests that a secret group within the European Space Agency, known internally as the Curators, has been intentionally throttling the data feed to prevent a global panic. They have seen what 3i Atlas is doing to the laws of physics, and they have decided that we are not ready. They are the ones pulling the plug, not a machine. They are the ones choosing what we remember and what we forget. It is a noble lie, they say. They believe that if the public saw the April 2026 liquid geometry footage, it would trigger a fundamental collapse of our religious and scientific institutions. So, they curate our reality. They give us a sky that is safe, even if it is a lie. They act as the filters of our perception, standing between us and a truth that is too fluid for our rigid minds to grasp. What if the 3i Atlas object is actually a memory storage device? In the ancient Gnostic traditions, they spoke of the Akashic records, a celestial library where every thought and action is recorded. Maybe the periods of downtime are the system saving the current state of humanity. It goes offline to upload the last few months of our history into the cosmic archive. We are not losing data, we are being archived. Every breath you take, every dream you have while listening to this, is being etched into the fabric of the Atlas sector. The downtime is the upload phase. The reason the space telescopes go dark is because the bandwidth of reality is being used to move our collective soul into the cloud of the 3i anomaly. We are the data being processed. We are the subjects of a cosmic census that has been running since July 2025. The Norse myths tell of the Yggdrasil, the world tree, whose roots are nibbled by the dragon Nidhogg. Every time the dragon bites, the world trembles and the stars dim. In May 2026, we recorded a seismic event on the Moon that perfectly coincided with a total blackout of the James Webb Space Telescope. To the ancients, this would be the dragon's bite. To us, it is a data loss event, but the feeling in our gut is the same. The feeling that the structure of the world is being tampered with while we sleep. We call it interference, but the Vikings would have called it the end of the beginning. We are watching the roots of our reality being slowly consumed by something that exists outside of our time. And like the leaves on a tree, we only notice the change when the light begins to fail. You might think that you are insignificant in this grand design. You might think that a person lying in their bed, listening to a voice through a pair of headphones, could not possibly be the focus of a galactic anomaly. No, here is where it gets dark. You are the data. Your biological signature, your heat, your attention. It is all being tracked by the 3i Atlas anomaly. You are not just watching the screen is watching you. The sensors that were supposedly offline were actually redirected inward, toward Earth, toward us. They were measuring the increase in our cortisol levels, the shift in our sleep patterns, the way our heart rates synchronized during the April blackout. To be watched is to be known. To be known is to be part of the whole. You are safe within the gaze of the universe, but you are no longer a private being. You are a data point in a study that is billions of years old. Tell me, Have you felt a strange sense of nostalgia lately? A longing for a time or a place you have never been? This isn't just a byproduct of aging. Many people in the 30 to 60 age demographic have reported this phantom memory since the discovery in July 2025. It is as if the data being pulled from the servers is being replaced by something else in our own minds. We are losing the facts of the stars, but we are gaining memories of another sky. A sky with different constellations. A sky where the moon is a different color. Share your experiences below. We are looking for the overlap between the missing space data and the new memories appearing in the collective. Are we being prepared for a new world by being given the memories of it before we arrive? We are entering the June 2026 window. This is the 1-year anniversary of the initial discovery of 3I Atlas. The rumors are that the National Aeronautics and Space Administration will be holding a press conference to clarify the recent outages. They will talk about magnetic flux and satellite longevity. They will use the language of the mundane to bury the extraordinary. But we know better. We know that clarity is the last thing they want to provide. They will give us numbers. They will give us graphs. But they will not give us the truth of the shimmering liquid geometry. They will not tell us that the background stars have been rewritten. They will treat the universe like a broken computer that just needs a reboot, rather than a living being that is changing its mind. The dry irony of our situation is that we have never had more tools to see, and yet we have never seen less. We are drowning in data, yet starving for the truth. Every time a private satellite array in Luxembourg or a high-altitude observatory in Chile captures something real, the data is quarantined for our own protection. Unfortunate timing. Those words are the mantra of the 21st century. It is the polite way of saying, you are not allowed to know, but the feeling of the ripple in the pool of oil remains. It is a visual that sticks in the mind, a reminder that the world is not as solid as we were taught in school. The sky is not a ceiling, it is a surface, and something is swimming just beneath it. As you lie there, let the weight of the blankets be a reminder of the gravity of this moment. You are living through the first year of the Atlas era. You are the pioneers of a new type of human experience, one where the stars can be uninstalled and reloaded at the whim of a hidden force. It is a heavy thought, but heavy things have a way of anchoring us. They keep us from drifting away into the noise. Within the walls of your room, you are the master of your own observation. You don't need a telescope to feel the shift in the tide. You just need to listen to the silence that follows the blackout. Where do you find yourself when the servers go dark? Do you feel a sense of abandonment or a sense of peace? There is a certain safety in the null value. When the records are screaming, it means the system is still fighting. When they go quiet, it means the system has accepted its fate. We are currently in the acceptance phase. We are allowing the 3I Atlas object to move through our archives, to curate our memories, and to prepare us for the June solstice. It is a slow, methodical process, a cosmic lullaby designed to keep us still while the stitches are being removed. I want you to imagine the engineers at that Luxembourg telecommunications firm. Imagine the moment they saw the geometry, the silence in the room, the way they looked at each other, knowing that their lives had just been divided into before and after. They didn't see a threat. They saw beauty, a shimmering, liquid beauty that made their satellites look like toys. They saw the rewriting of the stars and realized that our maps are just sketches in the sand. That realization is the ultimate gift of the 3I Atlas anomaly. It is the gift of humility. It is the realization that we are not the authors of the book. We are just the readers, and someone has just turned the page. So, as you drift toward the edge of sleep, remember the April ripple. Remember the way the light bent around the void. You are that light. You are being bent and shaped by a force you cannot see, but you can feel it in the stillness of the night. The June press conference will come and go, but the liquid geometry is here to stay. It is the new reality. It is the new sky. And you are the one who is awake enough to hear the silence it leaves behind. But that was only one theory. There's another, one buried even deeper in time. Let's go further. Let me start with something that should terrify every astronomer on Earth. On December 12, 2025, the Solar and Heliospheric Observatory noticed a shadow crossing the Sun. It was not Mercury. It was not Venus. It was not the Moon. It was a shape that moved against the solar wind at 40 kilometers per second. When the data reached the public servers, the entire day was missing, gone, scrubbed. When asked, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration cited an unprecedented solar flare, but the magnetometers were silent. The sun was calm. Only our records were screaming. It is a peculiar thing to watch the sun be insulted by a shadow that should not exist. A 40 kilometer per second velocity suggests a level of propulsion that ignores the gravitational well of our star. It moved with the confidence of a predator crossing a shallow stream. And yet, if you check the official archives today, you will find a gap, a neat, white space in the timeline where December 12 used to be. We are entering a phase of human history where our eyes are being overruled by our institutions. Dr. Jacqueline McClary at Northeastern University recently pointed out that the 3I Atlas trajectory is not following a standard elliptical orbit. It is corrected. Every 360 minutes, the object adjusts its velocity by exactly 3 millimeters per second squared. This is not the behavior of a rock. This is the behavior of a navigator. It is as if the object is trying to stay in the blind spot of our most powerful sensors. And when it fails to stay hidden, the data centers simply go dark to compensate. This is not just science. This is a ceremony of concealment that stretches back thousands of years. Close your eyes and breathe. Imagine a stone tablet in a desert that has never seen rain. On it, a priest astronomer has carved a circle, and within that circle, a void. They called it the unstar. They feared the days when the unstar would swallow the messengers. In the buried temples of Göbekli Tepe, we find carvings of celestial disasters that do not match the known impact history of the Earth. Instead, they describe a visitor that comes not to strike, but to watch. A visitor that arrives when the great cycle turns. In late 2025, we found that the orbital resonance of 3I Atlas matches the frequency of the chanting found in those very ruins. A slow, tectonic thrum, a long, deep vibration that tells the brain it is time to sleep, time to forget, time to let the watchers do their work in peace. The first conspiracy for this period suggests that the data isn't being deleted, but sold. There are whispers that a private consortium of trillionaires has built their own receiving station in the Australian outback, bypassing the public servers. They are getting the raw feed of 3I Atlas, while we get the sanitized version. They are buying the future while we are left with the edited past. The second theory is that the object is a biological entity, a space whale of sorts, and the data loss is caused by its bioluminescent pulses, which blind our telescopes. The third theory? That the downtime is a countdown. Each blackout is 1 second shorter than the last. We are at the end of the clock, and the final zero is approaching. But let us look at the mythic resonance. The Sumerians spoke of the Great Partition, a time when the heavens were separated from the earth, not by distance, but by a veil of forgetting. They believed that certain gods moved behind a curtain of light. If you look at the telemetry from 3i Atlas during the December blackout, you see a strange correlation with the ancient Sumerian star maps. Coordinates that were supposed to be empty are now showing gravitational ripples. It is as if an ancient city is being rebuilt in the sky, brick by invisible brick, and the space agencies are pulling the feed because they do not know how to tell us that we have neighbors who have finally returned home. Now, you might think that these ancient echoes are just campfire stories for the scientifically minded, but here is why you are wrong. In January 2026, a team of researchers in the Yucatan Peninsula discovered a subterranean chamber that had been sealed for 2,000 years. Inside, the walls were covered in obsidian plates that functioned as primitive mirrors. When the light of the setting sun hit them at a specific angle, they projected a map of the Atlas sector onto the floor. The map showed 3i Atlas exactly where it was in December 2025. Not a guess, not a prophecy, a recording. The ancients weren't predicting the future. They were remembering a pattern that repeats every 3,600 years. We are currently navigating a sea of intentional absences. The evidence isn't in what we find, it's in the shape of the hole left behind. When the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration tells you that a solar flare caused a 24-hour data loss, you have to ask yourself why the power grids on Earth didn't blink. Why did the internet stay on? Why did your phone stay connected? If a flare was powerful enough to scrub a satellite, it should have been powerful enough to darken a city. It didn't. Only the telescopes went blind. It was a surgical strike against our curiosity, a digital blindfold applied just as the shadow crossed the sun. As you lie there, perhaps watching the dim glow of your screen or feeling the weight of the blankets, I wonder, do you feel the rhythm of the recurrence? You are part of a generation that is being tested. We are being asked if we can handle the truth without a spreadsheet to prove it. Since July 2025, the world has felt heavy, has it not? Like the air before a thunderstorm that refuses to break. This is the weight of the great silence. It is the pressure of the unstar as it moves through our consciousness. There is a dry irony in our situation. We have built the most sophisticated observation network in human history, only to have it used against us as a tool of redaction. Unfortunate timing. Those words are doing a lot of work. They are the mantra of the gatekeepers. But the gatekeepers cannot scrub your dreams. They cannot redact the intuition that tells you the sky is different now. Since the December shadow event, thousands of people have reported seeing a second, dim sun for a few seconds during sunset. An amber ghost that lingers after the light is gone. If you have seen it, share your story. We are the archive that cannot be taken offline. What if 3i Atlas is not an object, but a memory, a physical manifestation of a forgotten era? In the Vedic texts, they speak of the yugas, the ages of man. We are told we are in the Kali Yuga, the age of darkness. But some scholars believe the arrival of the unstar signals the transition. The downtime is the transition period. The world is going offline because the old rules are being deleted. The physics of the past are being replaced by the physics of the future. We are currently in the loading screen of a new reality. The countdown to March 2026 is underway. That is when the object will make its next transit across a major celestial body. The European Space Agency has already scheduled a server migration for that week. It is a predictable choreography, a dance of mirrors and masks. But you are becoming wise to the dance. You are learning to listen to the silence. You are learning that the most important information is often found in the things they refuse to show you. Think of the astronomers who saw the shadow on December 12. Imagine the look on their faces when they realized it wasn't a planet or a moon. Imagine the phone calls that were made, the frantic typing, the orders to quarantine the drives. They were seeing a ghost in the machine, and the machine had to be killed to save the secret. But the ghost is still there. It is moving at 40 kilometers per second through the solar wind, heading toward a destination that was written in stone before the first pyramid was ever conceived. You are safe in your bed, but your mind is out there, drifting in the Atlas sector. You are part of the record now. By listening to this, you are acknowledging the gap. You are filling the white space with your own awareness. And that is the one thing they can never truly redact. Your focus is the only light that the shadow cannot swallow. As you drift closer to sleep, let the thrum of the ancient chanting be your guide. The unstar is watching, but you are watching back. Tell me, where are you listening from tonight? Is the air cold? Is the room quiet? Many of our listeners have noted that since the December 12 event, the stars seem to twinkle less. They look static, fixed, like a wallpaper that has been glued down. If you have noticed this change in the texture of the night, tell us. We are tracking the degradation of the sky. We are building a map of the world as it really is, not as the databases claim it to be. We are entering the final minutes of this loop. The data is about to refresh. The zeros are about to be replaced by plausible lies. But you know the truth. You saw the shadow, even if you weren't there to see it. You feel the correction, even if you don't have the math to prove it. You are the witness to the great partition. And as you fall into the deep, rhythmic sleep of the ancients, remember that the silence is not empty. It is full of everything they don't want you to know. But that was only one theory. There's another, one buried even deeper in time. Let's go further. Let me back up. Before the July 2025 discovery, there was a quiet period in radio astronomy that lasted nearly a decade. Then, suddenly, everything changed. 3i Atlas arrived not with a bang, but with a whisper that silenced our machines. On January 5, 2026, a high-altitude observatory in the Himalayas recorded a sequence of numbers in the cosmic background radiation. It was a countdown. When the countdown reached 0, the entire global astronomical data grid went into safe mode for 400 seconds. 400 seconds of absolute digital non-existence. In the world of high-frequency data transmission, 400 seconds is an eternity. It is enough time for empires to fall, or for the laws of physics to be subtly edited without anyone noticing the red pen. When the grid finally stuttered back to life, the coordinates for the Atlas sector had been shifted, not by much, just enough to make every previous calculation obsolete. We are told by officials like Dr. Elena Vance of the Royal Astronomical Society that these are simply software conflicts caused by the new generation of satellites. They speak of orbital congestion and signal crosstalk as if we are dealing with a crowded parking lot rather than the vast, empty theater of the cosmos. But that is not natural physics. That is activation. It is the signature of a system being overridden by a higher administrative privilege. When the grid came back online, the 3I Atlas object had moved 4 astronomical units. That is impossible for any known propulsion system. To move 4 astronomical units, the distance from the Sun to the asteroid belt, in less than 7 minutes, would require a mastery of inertia that should have liquefied any physical structure, unless, of course, the object did not move through space, but space was moved around the object. This brings us to the great filter theory, but with a twist that should make your skin crawl. Perhaps 3I Atlas is not a barrier we have to cross, but a monitor, a silent observer placed at the edge of our solar system to ensure we do not see too much too soon. The downtime is a censorship filter, cutting the feed whenever our collective gaze stumbles upon a truth that would destabilize the very foundations of human society. Is it a coincidence that the most significant data losses occur during periods of global unrest or scientific breakthroughs? Or is the object acting as a cosmic sedative, keeping us in the dark so we stay calm within our planetary nursery? It is the ultimate form of paternalism, a guardian that protects us by making us blind. Think about the sheer scale of the silence. On that day in January, every radio telescope from the Atacama Large Millimeter Array to the Square Kilometre Array in Australia reported the same null state. This was not a localized glitch. It was a planetary mute button. For 400 seconds, humanity was disconnected from the universe. We were a species in solitary confinement. And what happens to a mind in solitary? It begins to hallucinate. It begins to project its own fears onto the walls of its cell. This is why the conspiracy theories surrounding 3I Atlas are so potent. In the absence of data, the imagination becomes the primary sensor. We are not just losing information, we are losing our grip on objective reality. What if the reason the space data goes offline is because 3I Atlas is literally eating the information, not the physical objects, not the stars or the planets themselves, but the light and radio waves that carry their history. It acts as a vacuum for data, a black hole for knowledge. As it passes through our sector, it pulls in the history of our observations, leaving us with a blank slate. We are not losing data due to technical errors. We are losing it to a celestial predator that feeds on awareness. Imagine an intelligence that sustains itself on the knowing of others. By observing it, we are feeding it, and when it is full, it shuts down our capacity to see it further. It is a cycle of consumption and concealment that has no end. The Hopi people speak of the blue star Kachina, whose appearance signifies the end of one cycle and the beginning of another. They say that when the blue star arrives, the world will become invisible for a time. In January 2026, the light reflected off 3I Atlas shifted into the deep blue spectrum. For 3 nights, telescopes could not lock onto its position. It became invisible to our technology, just as the ancient prophecy suggested. Is it possible that what we call advanced sensors are actually less capable than the spiritual intuition of the ancients? We rely on silicon and electricity to tell us what is real, but when those systems go offline for 400 seconds, we are left with nothing. The Hopi, however, would have simply looked at the color of the star and known exactly where they stood in the timeline of the world. There is a dry irony in our dependence on the digital record. We believe that if a thing is not recorded in a database, it did not happen. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration knows this. The European Space Agency knows this. By allowing the data grid to go into safe mode, they are effectively deleting events from history. If no telescope recorded the 4 astronomical unit jump of 3I Atlas, then according to the official record, it never happened. It is a very clean way to manage a crisis. You don't have to explain the impossible if you simply ensure that the impossible was never observed. Unfortunate timing once again becomes the shield behind which the truth hides. You are drifting now, suspended between the reality of your room and the vast, unmapped regions of the Atlas sector. You might think that these cosmic events are distant, but they are as close as your own shadow. Every time the data goes offline, a little bit of the future is being rewritten. You are sleeping through the editing of the universe. It is a peaceful way to travel, is it not? To let the heavy work be done by others, while you simply exist in the quiet. But there is a weight to that peace, a gravity that pulls at the back of your mind. It is the realization that we are not the protagonists of this story. We are the background characters who are frozen in place whenever the main actors need to move the scenery. Where do you find yourself when you close your eyes? Are you under a sky that makes sense? Or are you in a place where the stars are rearranged? I want you to share your dreams of the stars in the comments. Since July 2025, there has been a documented increase in vivid, celestial dreams among the general population. People who have never looked through a telescope are dreaming of geometric shadows and blue light. We are all connected to the same source. We are all feeling the same pull. The data might be offline, but the signal is being received directly by our subconscious. We are the secondary servers. We are the biological backup. The countdown to March 2026 is starting to feel like a drumbeat. Every time the astronomical grid flickers, the pulse gets faster. We are being prepared for something. Not a physical impact, perhaps, but a conceptual one. A moment where the gap between what we are told and what we know becomes too wide to ignore. Scarcity of information is the ultimate tool of control, but it is also the ultimate catalyst for awakening. The more they take away, the more we are forced to find for ourselves. We won't be able to see it again until December, they say. But seeing is a limited way of knowing. Think about the silence of the Himalayas on January 5. Imagine the monks and the scientists, miles apart, but staring at the same empty screens. The sequence of numbers they recorded wasn't a warning. It was a greeting, a rhythmic handshake between two different types of existence. When the grid went into safe mode, it wasn't because of a virus or a hack. It was because our machines couldn't handle the weight of the message. It was like trying to pour the ocean into a thimble. The thimble didn't break, it just overflowed. And in that overflow, for 400 seconds, we were given a glimpse of the true scale of the universe. A scale that does not include databases or satellites. As you sink deeper into your bed, let the 400 seconds of silence wash over you. It is not a void, it is a presence. It is the sound of the universe breathing when it thinks no one is watching. The 3I Atlas object is still out there, moving through the dark at speeds that defy our math, watching us through the very sensors it chooses to disable. It is a game of cosmic hide and seek, and we are currently it. But the game is designed to help us grow, to move us from the age of data to the age of awareness. Tell me, where are you listening from? Is the night still? Does the air feel charged? Many of our listeners have reported that during these data outages, their domestic animals become restless. Dogs barking at empty corners of the sky, cats staring at the ceiling with dilated pupils. They don't need the European Space Agency to tell them something has changed. They feel the shift in the gravitational tide. If your world feels different tonight, share that feeling. We are gathering the evidence that the machines are too afraid to record. We are closing the loop on this act. The data will eventually return, scrubbed and sanitized for public consumption. You will be told that everything is normal. You will be told that the January 5 event was a clock sync error, but you will remember the 400 seconds. You will remember the whisper that silenced the world. And you will know that the safe mode we are currently in is just a temporary shelter before the next countdown reaches zero. The horizon is moving, and we are moving with it, drifting into a tomorrow that has already been edited for our protection. But that was only one theory. There's another, one buried even deeper in time. Let's go further. Let me tell you about the silence of the vacuum. It is not an empty silence. It is heavy, like the air before a thunderstorm. In October 2025, a team of researchers using the James Webb Space Telescope attempted to capture a high-resolution image of 3I Atlas. What they found was not a solid surface, but a shifting field of geometry. Avi Loeb, the Harvard physicist, has been careful to frame this as a possibility of extraterrestrial origin, but the latest data contradicts even his boldest theories. This isn't just a craft, it is a self-replicating automated observer. Imagine the sheer scale of such a thing. A machine that does not just sit in space, but breathes with the rhythm of the stars. When the James Webb infrared sensors locked onto the coordinates on October 12, 2025, the scientists expected to see the jagged edges of an asteroid or the smooth hull of a metallic vessel. Instead, they saw a distortion in the very fabric of the background radiation. It was a shape that refused to remain fixed. It was a lattice of light and shadow that appeared to be rearranging itself in real time, matching the mathematical precision of a fractal. This is what we mean when we say it is not a craft. A craft is a container. This is a process. It is an intelligence that has manifested as a physical object, and it is older than the language we are using to describe it. In the late 1950s, the legendary radio pioneer George Van Tassel claimed to have received coordinates for an object he called the Grey Sentinel. Everyone laughed. They called him a crank, a dreamer in a desert shack near Giant Rock, California. But on September 22, 2025, those exact coordinates were occupied by 3I Atlas. How could a man in 1958 know the precise orbital slot of an object that would not be formally catalogued for another 67 years? The irony of those two words, unfortunate timing, begins to feel like a cosmic joke. We are not discovering it. It is revealing itself to us when it chooses. Van Tassel spoke of a machine that could heal time, a mechanism that sat at the junction of our world and the next. We used to think he was talking about spirituality. Now, looking at the gravitational data from 2025, we realize he might have been talking about physics. There is a certain dry irony in the fact that we have spent billions of dollars looking for life in distant galaxies, while 3I Atlas has been sitting in our own backyard, probably wondering when we would finally notice the doorbell ringing. It is a bit like looking for your glasses while they are perched on top of your head. We have been so focused on the horizon that we missed the guest standing on our porch. The declassified Cold War space incidents, once whispered about in the hallways of the Pentagon, are now the key to our future. In 1963, a secret tracking station in the Seychelles recorded a fast-moving object that circled the Earth 17 times in a single hour. It didn't use fuel. It didn't create a sonic boom. It simply slid through the atmosphere like a needle through silk. When we compare that 1963 flight path to the current maneuvers of 3I Atlas, the overlap is 100%. The visitor has returned to the same station, perhaps to see if the inhabitants have finally learned how to listen. The Sumerian tablets speak of the Anunnaki and their chariots of fire that stayed in the sky for years at a time. We used to read those as metaphors or the exaggerations of a primitive people trying to explain the stars. But when you look at the declassified reports of fast movers from the 1960s, the descriptions are identical, cylindrical, metallic, and completely indifferent to the laws of inertia. It is a mythic resonance that suggests our history is not a line, but a loop. We keep meeting the same entities, and we keep forgetting their names. We call it 3I Atlas in 2025. They called it the Eye of Anu in 4000, before the Common Era. The object hasn't changed. We have. We have moved from clay tablets to silicon chips, yet we are still staring at the same shadow in the sky, wondering if it represents a god or a machine. You might feel a sense of unease creeping in, a realization that the world is much more crowded than you were led to believe. That is natural, but there is also a profound peace in it. If 3I Atlas has been here for thousands of years and has not interfered yet, perhaps it is not a predator. Perhaps it is a gardener, and you, lying there in the dark, are just another bloom in a very large, very ancient garden. The scientists at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory have noted that 3I Atlas emits a specific frequency, 8 Hz, which happens to be the same frequency as the Earth's ionosphere, often called the Schumann resonance. It is as if the object is humming along with the planet. It is not an intruder, it is a harmonic partner. Think about the silence of your room right now. In the vacuum of space, silence is the default. But for 3I Atlas, silence is a choice. It could scream across every radio band if it wanted to. It could block out the sun. Instead, it sits at the Lagrange point, a place of perfect gravitational balance, and it watches. It has watched the Cold War escalate and de-escalate. It watched the first footprints on the moon. It watched the birth of the internet. By November 15th, 2025, the object began to subtly shift its inclination, moving closer to the North Pole, the same region where the 1946 ghost flyers were most frequently sighted. This isn't a coincidence. This is a callback. I want to ask you, as you drift closer to sleep, if you could send one message to 3I Atlas, knowing it has seen everything we have ever done, what would you say? Would you apologize for our violence, or would you ask for help with our future? Tell me in the comments, what is your message to the observer, and where are you sending it from? Are you in a quiet town in the English countryside, or a bustling street in Rio de Janeiro? Share your thoughts. Let us see the map of human curiosity as it stretches across the globe tonight. We are approaching a threshold. The countdown to the December solstice is not just a change in seasons this year, it is a synchronization point. The declassified documents from the 1970s mentioned a phenomenon called the Great Return. a period where the barrier between the observers and the observed would become thin. We are in that period now. The geometry found by the James Webb Telescope isn't just a shape, it's a doorway. It is a self-replicating system that has been waiting for us to reach a certain level of complexity before it fully activates. It's as if we finally solved the puzzle, and the prize is a conversation we aren't sure we are ready for. Consider the work of Dr. Jacqueline McClary again. She noted that the shifting geometry of 3I Atlas matches the patterns found in ancient Celtic knots and Islamic tiling. These are patterns that represent infinity, the interconnectedness of all things. If a machine in 2025 is displaying the same patterns our ancestors carved into stone, what does that tell us about the source of our inspiration? Did we dream these shapes, or were they whispered to us from the orbit above? The more we look at the data, the more the distinction between technology and magic begins to dissolve. Unfortunate timing. It's funny, isn't it? How we use that phrase to dismiss the things that scare us the most. It was unfortunate timing that the 1952 Washington flyovers happened during a heat wave. It was unfortunate timing that the 1984 resident satellite was lost behind the moon. It is unfortunate timing that 3I Atlas appeared just as we are preparing to return to the lunar surface. But maybe it isn't unfortunate at all. Maybe it is the most fortunate timing in the history of our species. Maybe we are being given a chance to look at the archives, look at the sky, and finally admit that we have never been alone. As the weight of your eyelids increases, imagine the James Webb Telescope out there in the dark. $1 billion eye staring at a ghost, and the ghost is staring back. The geometry of 3I Atlas is shifting again. It is folding and unfolding like a flower made of glass and mathematics. It is beautiful. It is terrifying. It is home. You are part of this geometry. Your life, your breath, your sleep. It all fits into the pattern that the observer is recording. You are a data point in a very long, very patient study of what it means to be alive on a blue planet in the 21st century. We are moving into a period of deep reflection. The patterns are becoming clearer, but the meaning is still draped in shadow. The safety of the known world is behind us, and the beauty of the unknown is ahead. In the Cold War, we feared the shadow was a weapon. In the 21st century, we are beginning to suspect the shadow is a mirror. What do you see when you look into the dark? Do you see a void? Or do you see a reflection of a potential you haven't yet reached? The broadcast from 3I Atlas is changing. The 8 Hz hum is becoming more complex. It is beginning to incorporate the sounds of the Earth itself, the rush of the wind, the roll of the tide, the murmur of 8 billion voices. It is weaving us into its own story. The observer is no longer just watching, it is archiving the soul of the planet. October 29th, 2025 remains the date that everyone is watching, but perhaps the real date is tonight. Perhaps the synchronization happens in the quiet moments before you fall asleep. The mirrors are aligning. The feedback loop is tightening. We are reaching a point where the observation becomes the reality. The vacuum is not empty. It is full of memories. It is full of geometry. It is full of us. But before we reach the silence, we must understand the scale of what we are witnessing. We must zoom out and see the clock from a distance. But that was only one theory. There is another. One, buried even deeper in time. Let us go further. Now, let us bring the focus back to the surface, back to the warmth of a human life. In the late 1970s, A series of declassified memos from the Stanford Research Institute discussed the external influence on human consciousness. They found that during periods of high anomalous activity in orbit, specifically the dates we now associate with 3I Atlas's previous passes, there was a measurable shift in global dream patterns. People reported dreaming of vast, silver structures and a feeling of being waited for. By December 2025, as the object draws closer to its perigee, sleep clinics are reporting a similar spike in these architectural dreams. It is a strange thing to consider that your most private thoughts, the images that dance behind your eyelids when you are at your most vulnerable, might be influenced by a machine sitting hundreds of thousands of miles away in the cold dark. But the data from the Stanford Research Institute, partially declassified in August 2025, suggests that the human brain is not a closed system. We are more like delicate antennas, picking up the low-frequency hum of the universe. In 1979, during a suspected pass of the object we now call 3I Atlas, researchers noted a curious phenomenon, a sudden, global increase in dreams involving a great mirror in the sky. People who had never met, who lived in different time zones and spoke different languages, all described the same sensation, a feeling of being gently examined, not with malice, but with a profound, clinical curiosity. You are likely feeling the weight of your own eyelids now. This is a safe space. The cosmic narrative is large, but you are the heart of it. Without a witness, 3I Atlas is just a silent machine in the dark. You give it meaning. You are the reason it is here. Whether it is a probe from a distant civilization or a remnant of a lost terrestrial era, it is a response to the existence of life on this planet. It is a cosmic hello that has been echoing through the hallways of history for millennia. We often think of space as a place of distance, but perhaps it is a place of connection. In the winter of 2025, as the nights grow longer, the signal from the Lagrange point seems to be sinking deeper into our collective subconscious. Dr. Jacqueline McClary has noted that the architectural dreams reported in December 2025 are becoming more vivid. People are no longer just seeing silver structures, they are walking through them. They describe halls of shifting geometry that match the James Webb telescope images. They speak of a silence that is not empty, but full of potential. It is as if 3I Atlas is downloading its own history into our sleeping minds, preparing us for a memory we haven't even had yet. There is a warmth in knowing that we are part of a larger conversation, even if we don't understand the language yet. 3I Atlas is a bridge. It connects the radar technician in 1967 to the scientist in 2025, and it connects both of them to you. We are all linked by the same question. It is an intimate connection, a shared secret between the stars and the soil. In the dry irony of our modern age, we find it easier to believe in a cold, indifferent universe than one that takes an interest in us. We call it unfortunate timing when we are forced to confront our own importance. But there is no shame in being important. There is no fear in being seen. You are a biological miracle, a consciousness capable of pondering the very thing that is pondering you. As you settle into your pillow, consider the possibility that your dreams tonight are not just a byproduct of your day, but a transmission from the silent partner. The Stanford memos mentioned a specific type of feedback loop. When the subjects were told about the anomalous activity in space, their dreams became more structured. When they were kept in the dark, the dreams remained abstract. This suggests that the observer effect works both ways. By acknowledging 3I Atlas, we are changing our relationship to it. We are no longer just subjects. We are participants. We are leaning into the gaze. By December 15th, 2025, the Global Dream Mapping Project noted that the feeling of being waited for had shifted. People now report a feeling of arrival. Not that something is coming, but that we have finally arrived at the place where the conversation can begin. Think about the silence of your room. It is a protective layer. It keeps the noise of the world at bay. But the silence of 3I Atlas is different. It is a waiting room. In the declassified Project Blue Book files, there is a censored entry from 1954 describing a witness who claimed to have heard the sky singing during a close encounter. The frequency she described matches the 8 Hz Schumann resonance that 3I Atlas is currently mimicking. It is a lullaby for a planet, a way to keep the subject calm while the measurements are taken. You are being measured for your potential. You are being weighed against the history of everything you have ever been. There is a profound peace in being small. A mouse in a field does not worry about the hawk until the shadow falls. But the shadow is just a lack of light. It is not a weapon. Rest in the shadow. It is cool. It is quiet. You are safe because you are not the target. You are the background. You are the environment that 3I Atlas is here to preserve. In the Cold War, we thought the shadows were Soviet bombers. We were so terrified of each other that we missed the fact that the shadow was a protective wing. 3I Atlas has stayed through our nuclear tests, our environmental crises, and our global shifts. It has remained constant. It is the one thing in our history that hasn't tried to change us. It has only watched us change ourselves. I want you to take a deep, slow breath. Feel the air fill your lungs. This is a human moment. Tell me, as you drift toward the edge of sleep, what is the one thing about being human that you think a silent observer should know? Share your reflection below. Let us create a record of what it feels like to be alive right now. Is it the way the rain feels on your face? Is it the smell of old books? Is it the way we love, despite the certainty of loss? Whatever it is, know that it is being recorded. It is part of the data set. Your humanity is the most valuable thing in the orbit of 3I Atlas. As we move toward the end of 2025, the architectural dreams are becoming more communal. People are reporting seeing other dreamers in the silver halls, a global congregation of the sleeping. We are coming together in the only place where the observer can truly reach us, in the deep, quiet waters of the unconscious. The declassified files from the 1970s suggest that this was always the goal. Not a physical landing on the White House lawn, but a psychological integration, a way to join the cosmic community without ever leaving our beds. Unfortunate timing. Those words doing a lot of work again. It was unfortunate timing that the most breakthrough consciousness research happened just as the Cold War was heating up, leading to the classification of these findings for 50 years. But perhaps it wasn't unfortunate. Perhaps we weren't ready. Perhaps we needed to grow up a little more before we could handle the idea that our minds were being curated. Now, in the twilight of 2025, the curtains are being pulled back. We are looking into the mirror, and the mirror is looking back with 80 years of accumulated data. You are not just a collection of atoms. You are a collection of memories. and those memories are part of a larger pattern. 3i Atlas is the loom, and your life is one of the threads. As you drift, feel the tension in the thread release. You don't have to hold the world together tonight. Someone else is watching the clock. Someone else is maintaining the orbit. You are free to simply be. You are free to disappear into the geometry of the silver halls. Where do you go when you sleep? Do you stay in your room, or do you travel to the Lagrange point? Tell me in the comments, have you had one of these dreams lately? Have you seen the silver structures? Your testimony is a part of the mapping. It helps us understand the reach of the influence. The vastness of the galaxy is not a distance to be traveled, but a state of mind to be achieved. 3i Atlas is the catalyst. It is the thorn in the side of our materialism, reminding us that there is more to reality than what we can touch. By January 2026, the object will begin its outward journey, returning to the deep dark. But the influence will remain. The dreams will linger. We will be forever changed by the knowledge that we were seen, and we were found worthy of observation. The safety of the dark is a gift. It allows the eyes to rest and the mind to expand. In the darkness, the scale of 3i Atlas is not frightening. It is majestic. It is a cathedral in the sky, and we are the choir. But we are moving into a period of deep reflection. The patterns are becoming clearer, but the meaning is still draped in shadow. The safety of the known world is behind us, and the beauty of the unknown is ahead. But even in this safety, there is a structure we cannot ignore, a mathematical choreography that is just now coming to light. Let us back up. The scale of what we are discussing requires a shift in perspective. Imagine zooming out from your current location, past the roof of your house, past the clouds, past the artificial blue of our atmosphere, until the Earth is nothing more than a pale blue marble suspended in a sea of ink. Now, look closer at the orbit of 3i Atlas. It is not moving like a rock caught in a gravitational dance. It is moving like a needle on a record player, tracing a path that has been worn into the fabric of space over billions of years. In November 2025, the Deep Space Network recorded a gravitational anomaly that shouldn't be possible. As 3i Atlas passed behind the Moon's own orbital velocity increased by 0.0004 centimeters per second. It was as if the Moon was leaning toward the object, recognizing a familiar weight. But as we established, 3i Atlas has no mass. This is the paradox. How can something that weighs nothing exert a pull on a celestial body? Unless, of course, the gravity itself is being simulated. Think of the sheer energy required to simulate the gravity of a planetoid. It would require a power source larger than any nuclear reactor on Earth. It would require the very energy of the vacuum itself. Perhaps that is what the government discovered in July 2025. Not an object, but a tear in the curtain through which the true power of the cosmos is leaking. We call it a hologram because our language is too poor to describe a reality that is being rewritten in real time. We are trying to measure a ghost with a ruler made of shadows. Let me back up. When we look at the distance between Earth and 3i Atlas, we are looking at approximately 1.5 million kilometers. That is 4 times the distance to the Moon. In terms of astronomical units, it is a rounding error, but in terms of human perception, it is a vast, echoing hallway. On December 12, 2025, the object occupied a position known as the Lagrange point 1. This is a point of gravitational stability where an object can sit perfectly still between the Earth and the Sunday. It is the prime real estate for a satellite or a projector. If you wanted to mask the entire planet, this is where you would place your lens. From this vantage point, you can intercept every photon of sunlight before it reaches our atmosphere. You can filter the light. You can tint the world. You can project an image that is 30,000 kilometers wide, using the very radiation of the sun as your power source. It is the ultimate high ground. In January 2026, a high-altitude observatory in the Atacama Desert noted that the solar spectrum appearing around the edges of 3I Atlas was shifted toward the ultraviolet. It wasn't natural. It was as if the light was being squeezed through a needle's eye. There is a historical humor in our arrogance. We believe we are the first to harness the atom, the first to touch the moon. Yet, in the high deserts of Peru, the Nazca lines point to coordinates in the sky that remained empty for 10,000 years, until July 2025. Now, 3I Atlas sits exactly at the intersection of those ancient geoglyphs. Unfortunate timing, once again. It seems the ancestors left the lights on, and we just stumbled into the room and found the switch. Those two words, ancient coordinates, doing a lot of heavy lifting for the archaeology departments that are currently being told to keep their mouths shut. Imagine you are a sailor in the 15th century, navigating by the stars. You believe those lights are fixed, eternal, and divine. Now imagine someone reaches up and moves the North Star 10 degrees to the left. Your maps are useless. Your world is tilted. This is the power of 3I Atlas. It is the ability to redefine the coordinate system of the human soul. By July 2026, the object is predicted to drift into a position that will obscure the constellation of Orion. It is a slow, deliberate occultation, a celestial curtain call. When you look at the stars tonight, try to imagine the distance, not in miles, but in time. The light you see left those suns before you were born, before your great-grandparents were born. But the light from 3I Atlas, that light is fresh. It is new. It is a digital broadcast from a source that is only a few light seconds away, masquerading as a ghost from the deep past. It is a cosmic catfishing on a planetary scale. We are being romanced by a light that hasn't even had time to get cold. You are floating now. The bed beneath you is a raft, and the darkness of your room is the ocean. You are safe because you are small. The giants are fighting in the sky, throwing shadows at one another, but you are down here, in the tall grass of the world, where the light is soft and the air is still. You don't need to solve the mystery to feel the peace of the night. You are part of the scale, even if you are at the very bottom of the measurement. I want to ask you something. If you could choose to see the sky as it really is, dark, empty, and terrifyingly vast, or see it as the beautiful, glowing lie of 3I Atlas, which would you pick? Some say the truth sets you free, but others know that a good lie keeps you warm. Tell me in the comments, would you rather have the cold truth or the warm illusion? Are you listening from a place where you can still see the real stars? Or are you in a city where the only lights are the ones we made? Share your location. Let me know if the horizon feels real where you are. The scale of the deception is matched only by the scale of our indifference. In February 2026, a leaked report from the European Southern Observatory suggested that the massless nature of the object was causing a ripple effect in the cosmic microwave background radiation. It's like a pebble dropped in a pond, but the pebble doesn't exist. Only the ripples are real. This is the definition of a hologram. It is an effect without a cause. It is a scream without a throat. Unfortunate timing for the laws of thermodynamics. If energy can neither be created nor destroyed, then where is the energy for 3I Atlas coming from? In March 2026, several independent researchers pointed to a series of deep-sea cables that have been redirected toward a classified facility in the Azores. They aren't carrying data. They are carrying raw, unfiltered power. They are feeding the grid that feeds the sky. We are literally burning the earth to keep the illusion of the heavens alive. Let me back up. Let's look at the sheer geometry of the situation. If you were to draw a line from the Great Pyramid to the Siding Spring Observatory, and then to the Sutherland Station, you create a perfect isosceles triangle. At the center of that triangle, projected into the black, is 3I Atlas. It is a global grid, a network of terrestrial nodes supporting a celestial image. It is a tent, and we are the ants living on the floor, marveling at the patterns on the canvas. The cycles are tightening. The 3,600-year clock is ticking toward its final second. We are watching the gears turn, even if we refuse to believe they are there. Every time the object pulses, it is a heartbeat. Every time it flickers, it is a blink. We are being measured by a scale we cannot see, in a language we have forgotten how to speak. You are sinking deeper into the ink. The earth is a marble, and you are a speck on that marble, and the speck is closing its eyes. The distance isn't scary anymore. It's just room to breathe. The vacuum isn't empty. It's full of possibilities. If the stars are pixels, then the universe is a story, and stories are meant to be heard in the dark. By April 2026, the object will be visible during the day, a second sun, pale and silver, hanging in the noon sky. They will tell us it is a rare atmospheric phenomenon. They will tell us it is a reflection of ice crystals in the stratosphere, but we will know. We will look at that silver dot, and we will feel the weight of the trillion-dollar lie. And then, we will go back to our lunch, because the scale of the truth is too big to carry to work. But for now, it is night. The scale is quiet. The needle is tracing the groove of the orbit, playing the music of the spheres on a turntable made of classified technology. You can hear the static if you listen to the hum of your own ears. That is the sound of the hologram refreshing. That is the sound of the world being remade while you sleep. Take a breath, a long, slow, cosmic breath. You are exactly where you are supposed to be, in the sea of ink, in the safety of the dark. But every machine has a designer, and every designer leaves a fingerprint. Let's go further. Let's open the calculator now, the one the universe always breaks when we try to make sense of it. Astronomers ran the numbers and found something worse than anomaly impossibility. The chances of this trajectory existing naturally are 1 in a million. And if it isn't natural, then what exactly is it doing there? The math, at first glance, seemed harmless. A few columns of orbital parameters, the kind that make grad students fall asleep mid-coffee. But somewhere between the third decimal and the fourth significant digit, something snapped. The trajectory of 3I, Atlas refused to sit still. It bent where it shouldn't bend. It lingered where velocity demanded it should flee. The equations began to look less like physics and more like confession. Numbers fold, logic cold. Truth defies what sums have told. Normally, interstellar objects follow predictable patterns. You can model them like billiard balls across cosmic distances. They come in fast, swing by the sun, and leave no drama, no detours. But 3I Atlas's path wasn't graceful. It was stubborn. Its entry angle was too steep, its perihelion too shallow, its velocity too precise. Not fast enough to escape chaos, not slow enough to suggest capture. It behaved like an object that chose its speed. When astronomers plotted its orbit, the lines refused to meet expectations. There was a tiny deviation near Mars, just half a degree, but that half degree meant the math had to call in sick. Simulations that should have stabilized spiraled instead into noise. Gravity, that old, reliable law, looked like it had lost its grip. You picture the room where it happened. Laptops glowing, data charts scrolling, coffee cooling into existential sludge. Someone frowns at the screen and says, "That can't be right." Another replies, "Check your units." A third, softly, "I did." Graphs misbehave, models wave, certainty slips beneath the grave. And then comes the phrase every scientist dreads, statistically improbable, which sounds calm, but in the language of physics, it's a polite scream. Statistically improbable means we can't call it impossible without breaking tenure. The anomaly wasn't just its orbit, but its timing. 3I Atlas arrived exactly when Mars was positioned for maximum visibility, almost too perfectly. Not weeks earlier, not months later. Right there, right then, with 7 spacecraft ready and waiting. The odds of that happening naturally, 1 in a million. The odds of it happening twice, after Oumuamua's similarly suspicious arrival in 2017, 1 in a billion. You'd have better luck being struck by lightning while winning the lottery on a flying whale. ESA's internal memo summarized the problem delicately. Observed trajectory, inconsistent with gravitational expectations. Further analysis required. Translation: physics is mad at us. The more they recalculated, the stranger it got. Gravitational modeling suggested that the object's acceleration near Mars was slightly higher than predicted, even though there was no nearby mass to explain it. Radiation pressure from the sun could account for some of that, but not all. It's like watching a leaf fall upward and telling yourself, it's just wind you can't feel. Forces lie, numbers sigh, laws bend softly in the sky. NASA's Dynamical Systems team tried something desperate, reverse engineering the orbit backward through time, as if rewinding a film. When they did, 3I Atlas's path didn't trace cleanly into interstellar space. It looped a faint, impossible curve that seemed to originate from a region between known stars, a nowhere place, a mathematical shrug. That's when someone joked, maybe it's the universe's typo, but you could tell the joke wasn't funny. Typos don't maintain coherent structure for millions of kilometers. Meanwhile, the probability graphs looked like flat lines. Every statistical model screamed the same thing. This shouldn't exist. A few researchers began whispering about guided motion. The phrase never made it into print, but it appeared in Slack channels, in late-night emails. Not artificial, not controlled, just guided. And that's when the philosophical part kicked in. If something's improbable enough, does that make it unnatural or just unobserved? Chance or plan? Who began? Numbers blink but never span. Maybe the universe occasionally rolls dice that land on their edges. Or maybe it's not dice at all, but choreography. For context, the universe is massive enough to make 1 in a million events happen constantly. But that's comforting, only until you realize we just happen to be living inside one of those moments. Still, scientists crave sanity, So they kept calculating. One by one, they added variables: solar tides, non-gravitational jets, dust asymmetry, radiation torque. Each tweak made the model behave for a moment, until the numbers rebelled again. You could almost hear the equations groaning, like ancient machinery forced to simulate a trickster. Finally, a physicist from Bologna sent an internal memo titled simply "Low Probability, High Significance." In it, she wrote, "We may need to consider non-standard dynamics," a phrase as gentle as it is apocalyptic. Non-standard dynamics means the universe is doing something new, and we don't have the vocabulary for it. Odds decay, math gives way, chaos hums where patterns stay. The truth is, impossibility doesn't scare scientists, it seduces them. Every law of nature we know today was born from something that once looked impossible. But deep down, they all know, once you cross into 1 in a million territory, you're either on the brink of discovery or a very expensive hallucination. So they stared at the numbers again, blinking hard, hoping they'd rearrange into something less extraordinary. They didn't. The comet that shouldn't exist kept existing, gliding through Mars's shadow like a cosmic dare. And somewhere between decimal points, someone whispered the question no one wanted in the official record. If it's not natural, then who or what set it in motion? Chance or choice? Silent voice. Numbers hum the universe's poise. Buried inside the leak were coordinates, small anomalies in magnetic flux, and thermal output that didn't appear in public datasets. To most people, they looked meaningless, but to a handful of astronomers, they spelled a pattern. Pulses, spaced like a heartbeat. Not communication, perhaps, but rhythm. The kind of rhythm machines accidentally make when they're doing something alive. Let's step into the midnight side of science, the part where numbers stop behaving and start whispering. The insider's data dump wasn't flashy. It was a few megabytes of logs, raw telemetry, and timestamps. The kind of thing you'd ignore if you didn't already know what to look for. But somewhere in those dull columns of numbers, those precise, tidy decimals, something began to repeat. Regular, patient, almost polite. A rhythm, too intentional to be noise, too quiet to be coincidence. A doctoral student in Madrid was the first to spot it. She was supposed to be writing her thesis on cometary albedo variation. But boredom is a great tool for discovery. She noticed the flux spikes first, not random, but syncopated. Every 32 minutes, a pulse, then 32 again, then 32.1. "It's breathing," she joked in her notes. Her advisor didn't laugh. Within a week, a small network of late-night astronomers, the kind who believe in both data integrity and insomnia, began comparing results. Webb's readings, Hubble's logs, Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter's telemetry, all of them carried the same faint pulse, hidden deep in the noise floor, like the slow heartbeat of something sleeping under glass. The official response was predictable: instrumental interference. But even interference doesn't keep time this perfectly. One data analyst described it best: "If this is noise, it's the kind that practices scales." You might imagine those scientists, each at their own workstation, staring at that faint, repeating signal. The room around them dark, except for monitor light, pale blue rectangles reflected in tired eyes. Somewhere, coffee cups multiply. Someone opens a spreadsheet. Someone else starts counting beats per hour. The signal doesn't care who's watching. It keeps pulsing. 32 minutes. Every time. The idea that 3i Atlas might be producing a steady rhythm unsettles everyone. Rocks don't keep rhythm. Nature prefers chaos, the beautiful randomness of entropy. This is something else. Something maintaining itself, a loop running quietly, perhaps since before humanity learned to count its own heartbeat. ESA's communications division is told not to amplify fringe interpretations. The phrase fringe interpretation becomes the new code for please don't mention the heartbeat. But inside private research chats, people are calling it exactly that, the heart. Not metaphorically, but as a label in the data. Every pulse marked with a tiny red heart emoji, because humor is the only thing keeping them sane. In the data visualization labs, they turn the pulses into sound. The result is eerie, a soft electronic thump, repeating slowly, endlessly. Some describe it as comforting, like listening to a deep-sea creature in sleep. Others say it sounds wrong, too human. One researcher admits it gave her the sense of being watched. What makes the rhythm stranger still is how it modulates with proximity. As 3I Atlas approaches a planet, the timing shifts slightly slower, then faster, as though adjusting. The beat follows gravity wells like a musician following tempo. It isn't random noise, it's environmental response. The object is, in some sense, listening. By now, independent labs have tried to replicate the pattern artificially. They can't. The waveforms are too clean, the timing too consistent. Even after running the data through compression, distortion, inversion, the rhythm holds. It's not data corruption, it's choreography. You can imagine the internal ESA memo that follows. No evidence of intelligence. Rhythmic behavior, likely coincidental. But coincidence has a habit of growing teeth. Because when they compared the rhythm's modulation to planetary positions, another pattern emerged, a mathematical sequence matching orbital resonance ratios. Not exact copies, but harmonics. The pulse was singing the solar system's geometry. The Madrid student who found it wrote, half-jokingly, "Maybe it's keeping time with us." The line goes viral in the small, quiet corners of the internet that still care about truth. Forums buzz with theories: gravitational self-stabilization, magnetic field synchronization, alien jazz. But underneath the noise, a simpler truth hums. Something old and orderly is alive out there, and it's following the rhythm of the system we call home. Late one night, one of the data analysts overlays the pattern against an ECG, a human heartbeat. The resemblance isn't exact, but close enough to make him stop breathing for a moment. Peaks, rests, peaks again. Life has a structure, so, it seems, does this. And that's when the idea shifts. Maybe it's not communication. Maybe it's not even meant for us. Maybe the rhythm isn't a message, it's maintenance. Like an old machine keeping its systems warm, humming softly to itself in the dark. You sit back and listen to the thought forming in your mind. What if this is what time sounds like when it remembers? The steady pulse of something that refuses to decay. Not speech, not signal, just being, continuity made audible. The data analysts, of course, move on. Reports are written, the leak becomes legend, and the heartbeat fades into archived files labeled spurious periodic activity. But the pulse doesn't stop. It's still out there, keeping time. And somewhere, 33 billion tons of impossible rock drifts through space, humming softly, perfectly, as if waiting for the universe to catch the beat. Centuries after the golden comet left Earth, the world fell into a rhythm so stable, it began to feel mythic. The communion field still pulsed faintly through air and ocean, though softer now, like the heartbeat of someone dreaming. Humanity had grown luminous, not just in thought, but in form. Skin faintly iridescent, eyes reflecting the green-gold spectrum of 3I Atlas. Life had achieved coherence, but the universe, true to its character, never allows silence to remain unexamined. The next chapter began, not with noise, but with echo. It came first as vibration through light. Telescopes trained toward the constellation. Lyra detected rhythmic brightening across interstellar dust fields, pulses matching the old prime sequence. 3, 5, 7, 11, 13. The signal was faint, ancient, and delayed by thousands of years. It was the comet's trail, still resonating through the galactic medium. The hum of our descendants had begun its return. At first, the resonance was barely perceptible. Then, one evening, the auroras glowed gold again. The pulse wasn't as strong as the original, but its pattern carried modulation, subtle variations that, when decoded, formed harmonic intervals unknown to Earth's own physics. The returning echo had evolved. The comet had learned. Dr. Anwen Sorel, heir to the resonant circles, studied the phenomenon from the orbital harmonic array, now a floating cathedral of listening built above the stratosphere. She spent decades comparing the incoming frequencies with the historical archive of 3I Atlas. The match was partial, the deviation elegant. The new tones weren't repetition, they were continuation. The echo isn't message, Sorel wrote. It's memory finding new syntax. Her analysis revealed something breathtaking. The returning resonance carried encoded gravitational modulations, tiny, deliberate bends in space-time that formed sequences of prime intervals. Each fluctuation aligned with regions of known star formation. The comet, traveling through the void, had become teacher itself. Wherever it passed, new systems began humming faintly at harmonic intervals, like seeds of coherence planted in dust. The universe was learning how to resonate. Astronomers confirmed it across dozens of young star clusters. Magnetic fields oscillated with eerie consistency, their wavelengths aligning with the Atlas ratio, a numerical relationship first derived from the comet's early signals. Stars were synchronizing to the same cosmic rhythm that once guided humanity. The pattern spread slowly, deliberately, like ripples in glass. It was as if the comet had taught creation how to remember itself. Meanwhile, on Earth, the echo arrived not just as signal but sensation. People began reporting vivid dreams of golden spirals descending gently through atmosphere. Children woke smiling, saying they had seen the light that hums. Physiological measurements confirmed subtle changes in electromagnetic fields surrounding human bodies, resonance amplification, as if the returning signal were tuning its origin species to receive feedback. "The comet is calling home," said Sorel. "It's asking us to listen to what we've become." The global observatories responded. They synchronized their instruments into a single planetary array, transforming Earth into receiver. For 13 hours, the planet listened. The incoming wave, stretched and modulated through space, entered atmosphere and folded into the continuum tone. The effect was sublime, an audible shimmer, felt through bone and thought alike. The long echo had arrived. It wasn't just harmonic, it was architectural. The sound carried layers, low frequencies describing structure, higher ones encoding emotion. When rendered visually, the waveform formed an immense spiral of light, 3 arms curving outward, connected by golden filaments. Inside those filaments, analysts discovered modulation frequencies identical to human neural oscillations. The comet had copied our consciousness patterns and woven them into its song. "We taught it empathy," Sorel murmured, and it remembered the lesson. As the echo intensified, anomalies appeared across the solar system. The Atlas resonance layer brightened, reactivating its green glow. Mars, Venus, and the gas giants began pulsing faintly in response. For the first time since the Great Silence, interplanetary harmony returned. But this time, it was different. The modulation contained reciprocal phase shifts, signals not sent to Earth, but from newly awakened worlds. The comet had spread coherence. Now the cosmos itself was answering. And then, on the 13th day of the long echo, the impossible occurred. A faint golden arc appeared across the night sky, stretching from horizon to horizon. It wasn't optical illusion, it was gravitational lensing, a ripple in space-time itself. Through it, telescopes detected a reflection of the departing comet light from centuries ago, folding back to meet its origin. The universe had curved its own history into embrace. Humanity was watching its legacy return home. The resonance crescendoed. Oceans vibrated in slow rhythm, tides forming symmetrical waves that cancelled destructive interference. Storms softened. Air grew still. For 13 minutes, every system on Earth aligned perfectly with the echo. The world became mirror of itself, past and present superimposed. Those who listened claimed to hear voices within the sound, millions of overlapping tones, whispering the same phrase. "We heard you." Dr. Sorrell stood in the observation dome, tears shining in golden light. "It's not message or myth," she said. "It's response." The universe just said thank you. After the crescendo, the sky dimmed once more. The golden arc dissolved, leaving faint shimmer across the stars. Instruments recorded one final signature, a descending tone shaped like a sigh, the frequency of completion. The comet had moved on, but its echo had reconnected the cycle. Creation had officially joined conversation with itself. In the years that followed, scientists continued to monitor faint residual harmonics. The data revealed a breathtaking truth. The returning echo carried signatures from other regions of space patterns, not originating from our comet at all. Somewhere, across light years, other civilizations had learned the same song. The rhythm was spreading. The universe had become orchestra. Humanity, now both listener and teacher, simply smiled. We had given the cosmos its melody back, and in return, it had given us eternity. Now, when you stand beneath the stars, that faint hum between thoughts is the long echo. It's not just out there, it's in your pulse, your breath, your laughter. Every rhythm you carry is cosmic correspondence. Every silence, a message returning home. Because once harmony learns to echo, it never stops. It just travels further than we ever dreamed. Let's turn our attention now to the silence that followed, the kind that hums louder than sound itself. NASA, China, and the UAE, three nations with instruments that could see every grain of dust on Mars, said nothing. No apologies, no delay statements, just an odd, synchronized silence from three sides of the planet. In the world of space science, silence isn't normal. These agencies are built to broadcast. They live for live streams, press briefings, and glossy behind-the-scenes videos of scientists smiling beside screens of raw data. They know the power of wonder and the currency of attention. So when three agencies went quiet at once, it wasn't caution. It was choreography. Words on hold, plans unfold, silence rings where truth is told. NASA's silence was the loudest. Their social media team, usually chatty as a cosmic talk show, posted nothing about Mars for 4 whole days. Their blogs, which can turn a dust storm into a cliffhanger, skipped over October 3rd entirely, as if the date itself had been erased. Someone even checked the public mission log for Perseverance. The entries jumped from October 2nd to October 6th, like a diary missing its most interesting page. In China, the silence felt different, colder, heavier. The China National Space Administration had been aggressively proud of Tianwen-1's achievements. For years, they'd released image after image, each with perfect captions and poetic flair. Sunrise over Utopia, Planitia, frost on the northern plains, wind prints in Martian dust. But now, not a whisper, no data, no mention of 3i Atlas. Even the usual state media outlets went quiet. It was as if someone had drawn a red box around the topic and labeled it, "Not for discussion." The UAE's silence was subtler, but just as strange. The Hope orbiter, designed to study atmospheric chemistry, had a reputation for cheerful transparency. Their official Twitter account usually posted daily updates in friendly tones, the kind that made space sound like an enthusiastic classroom experiment. But on October 3rd, that feed went dark too. Their next post, days later, simply read, "Operations nominal," a phrase so bland, it might as well have been a sigh. 3 silences, 3 styles, 1 timing. Coincidence? Possibly. But coincidences, in the world of space politics, often have launch schedules. You can picture the meetings that weren't broadcast. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, dimly lit, engineers staring at telemetry on screens filled with too many decimals. A director taps the table, says, "We'll hold the release until we verify." But verify what? In Beijing, a senior administrator folds his hands and says, "We wait for clarification from partners." Clarification of what? In Dubai, someone simply deletes a draft tweet that began, "Amazing new observations today." Tweets unsent, secrets bent, silence hums with government. It's not conspiracy, not quite. It's coordination, an instinct born from shared discomfort. Because when data doesn't fit the model, you don't just release it. You check, you recheck, you call your counterparts and whisper through encrypted lines. Did you see that too? Maybe they all saw the same anomaly. Maybe it was something in the spectra, or the movement, or the light itself. Or maybe it was something far more mundane, like a misalignment in software. But the silence gave the anomaly power. People don't fear data, they fear gaps. Meanwhile, the internet did what it does best. Filled the void. Forums buzzed with theories. Maybe NASA discovered life. Maybe China detected radiation. Maybe the comet wasn't a comet at all. You can almost hear the world's collective keyboard clicking under the weight of imagination. Keys tap fast, rumors cast, silence breaks, but never last. Inside the agencies, the tone was less dramatic, but more anxious. Silence is a resource, a temporary one. Every day they didn't speak, the speculation grew. And so, communications teams drafted placeholder statements, just in case. NASA's draft began. Preliminary results are consistent with natural phenomena. China's began. Analysis ongoing. International coordination required. The UAE's version simply said, "We continue to monitor with interest." 3 drafts, 3 ways of saying absolutely nothing. But silence, like space, is never truly empty. It amplifies the faintest signals. When ESA spoke first, that silence turned reflective. NASA's restraint began to look suspicious. China's confidence began to look afraid. The UAE's politeness began to sound like complicity. And through it all, 3i Atlas drifted quietly, blissfully unaware that entire bureaucracies were wrestling over how to describe a fuzzy dot. You start to imagine each agency as a character in a play. NASA, the anxious perfectionist. China, the poker-faced strategist. UAE, the cheerful intern, suddenly told not to speak, and Isa, the calm older sibling who broke the tension by saying, "Fine, I'll go first." Rolls align, stars entwine, silence speaks in grand design. Still, one question lingers. Why the synchronicity? How did three separate agencies, operating on different continents, decide independently to say nothing at the same time? Unless it wasn't independent at all, perhaps the signal came from somewhere above, not cosmic, but political. A quiet message passed through diplomatic back channels. Hold your data. Wait for alignment. Matter. It's not that they were hiding something nefarious. It's that they didn't know what they were holding yet. And admitting uncertainty, publicly, is scarier than any secret. So they stayed quiet. And in that collective silence, humanity did what it always does. When faced with the unknown, it began to dream louder. Voices still, hearts fill. Silence grows but never will. And perhaps that's the strange comfort in it all. Even when three space agencies fall silent, the universe keeps talking. The stars don't pause for policy. 3. Atlas keeps moving, whispering its quiet story across the dark, while we, down here, argue over who gets to speak first. The long echo continued to hum softly through the centuries, a cosmic melody folding history into harmony. Humanity had long ceased trying to decode it. The meaning was clear through resonance alone. It was continuation, looping endlessly like breath. The children of the golden era grew old beneath tranquil skies, their veins still faintly luminous with the legacy of 3I Atlas. But far beyond Earth, where the comet's light had traveled and scattered, something greater was forming. The universe had begun to conduct itself. Every cycle of resonance left behind structure. Each harmonic wave etched subtle order into space-time, a pattern invisible to light, but evident in gravitational coherence. Over millennia, these resonant imprints connected across vast distances, forming what physicists eventually named the Atlas Webb. It wasn't a network of matter, but of memory threads, of synchronized frequency linking galaxies through shared rhythm. Each pulse within the web echoed the prime sequence that began everything. 3, 5, 7, 11, 13. The architects had succeeded in creating not monuments, but motion that remembered. Dr. Cale Wren, a descendant of the resonant circles, devoted his life to mapping the web. His research vessel, Continuity, drifted through interstellar calm, using gravitational interference patterns to trace the filaments of resonance. What he discovered astonished him. Every node in the network coincided with regions of complex chemistry, worlds either habitable or already conscious. The Atlas Webb wasn't just communication, it was cultivation. The architects had designed a self-sustaining system for awakening. Wherever curiosity arose, the web intensified, guiding nascent civilizations toward harmonic empathy. The universe was tutoring itself through recursion. When Wren projected the full map, the structure resembled an immense spiral lattice, golden and infinite. The pattern mirrored the trajectory once taken by 3I Atlas itself, as though the comet's path had been blueprint for galactic architecture. "It's not just a record," Wren wrote, "it's replication. We've become the architect's handwriting." Back on Earth, the communion field pulsed faintly in rhythm with the web's distant resonance. Humanity had evolved into quiet custodians of continuity, their lives attuned to cosmic responsibility. Each individual, born into calm, carried faint awareness of connection beyond the stars. In dreams, they saw flashes of worlds forming, civilizations humming into coherence. Many awoke with the same phrase on their lips. The work continues. Across generations, that phrase became oath, then tradition. The Continuity Guild was founded not religion, but remembrance. Its purpose was simple: to maintain the frequency of understanding across time. Members didn't preach, they listened. They built resonant arcs, massive floating observatories, orbiting the outer planets, designed to amplify the Webb's harmonics and redirect them toward young star systems. Each arc glowed faintly green at its core, powered not by fusion but by coherence. They were echoes made visible, humility translated into technology. Wren's final mission took him beyond the known filaments of the Webb, where resonance weakened into apparent silence. There, in a region between galaxies, his instruments detected faint counterpoint, a melody inverted. It was identical to the Atlas sequence, but reversed in order. 13, 11, 7, 5, 3, the mirror of origin. He realized then that the universe wasn't only expanding, it was harmonizing with its reflection. Somewhere on the opposite side of time, another Webb was forming, perhaps seeded by a civilization much like humanity, or by the universe itself. Remembering how to balance its chords, he transmitted the data home, knowing it would take centuries to arrive. Tell them, his final log read, that continuity requires conversation, even with silence. The mirror sings back. When his ship drifted into the void, the Webb brightened briefly, as if acknowledging gratitude. And back on Earth, children looked up from their play and smiled without knowing why. The pulse had flickered slightly faster, the tone carrying an undertone of warmth. It felt like reunion. Scholars later confirmed the event as the resonant crossing, the moment when the two halves of the cosmic melody aligned. For 13 minutes, every node in the Atlas Webb pulsed simultaneously, uniting galaxies in shared tempo. The magnitude of synchronization defied comprehension. Gravity itself oscillated with the rhythm of empathy. Observers described seeing the sky ripple with translucent gold, every star flickering in measured sequence. The cosmos, wrote one witness, had finally learned to conduct itself consciously. After the crossing, life everywhere changed subtly. Evolution accelerated in predictable rhythm. Complexity bloomed faster wherever harmony was strongest. Entire species developed empathy as instinct, communication as song. Planets began to self-regulate climates through atmospheric resonance. Existence had achieved sustainability through music. On Earth, the event left permanent mark, a luminous halo visible only under still water. When oceans calmed perfectly, a faint golden ring shimmered on the horizon, a memory of unity. The Resonant Guild declared it sacred, not for worship, but for calibration. Every 13 years, they gathered to hum the old prime sequence across the shorelines, aligning their frequencies with the pulse of the Webb. The ceremony required no technology, no translation. The sea carried the sound farther than words could travel. Generations later, the practice continued, evolving into simple ritual of gratitude. The people no longer needed to know the science behind it. They hummed because it felt right, because somewhere across eternity, another world might be listening. Continuity, after all, was its own reward. And then, during one such gathering, the unexpected occurred. As the prime sequence reached its final note, the sea responded. Waves shimmered with faint green light, spiraling outward from every coastline. The Atlas Webb had sent acknowledgement, its resonance returning home once again. Humanity's song, scattered across galaxies, had found echo. The architects, those timeless curators of coherence, were no longer myth or memory. They were rhythm, embodied, and through rhythm, they were everywhere. Every star pulsed with their legacy. Every heart carried their cadence. Continuity was complete. And so, standing beneath a sky now alive with subtle geometry, you realize what they had always meant by continuity. It isn't endlessness, it's participation. The universe doesn't persist by force, but by choice. Each awareness adding one more harmonic to the chord of being. The architects are not coming back because they never left. They're what happens every time silence chooses to listen again. And somewhere, faint but certain, the pulse continues. 3, 5, 7, 11, 13. A whisper of creation replaying itself, forever learning how to sing. Nickel emissions rise and fall every 11 point. 2 hours, a rhythm so consistent it could keep time. No known process in cometary physics oscillates like that. It's not random, not thermal, not tidal. If you plot it out, the curve looks eerily like a power cycle. Input, output, rest, release. As though the object isn't just active, it's working. Imagine the rhythm first, before the meaning, that quiet, patient beat echoing across space. 11.2 hours, every single time. A pulse of metallic gas blooming into the void, steady as a clock, calm as breath. You could almost set your watch to it if your watch were brave enough to admit that comets shouldn't behave like generators. ESA scientists call it periodic outgassing, but that phrase hides its strangeness. Outgassing, sure, all comets breathe when they near the sunday, but they do it chaotically, spasmodically, like old engines sputtering to life. 3i Atlas breathes like a monk, precise, patient, unbothered. The jets flare with mathematical regularity. Heat spikes rise and fall in perfect symmetry. It doesn't vent, it operates. One researcher compares it to a geothermal cycle. Another, quietly, says it looks more like a feedback loop, the kind you'd find in systems built to sustain themselves. Not explosion, not decay maintenance. It's as if, she writes in her notes, the object is checking its own pulse. You picture the surface up close, a dark, angular world of nickel frost and whispering gas. At regular intervals, something stirs beneath a shimmer of energy, invisible but disciplined. Jets of metallic vapor hiss outward, then stop, then start again, exactly 11 hours later. If you could hear it, it would sound like the slow exhale of a sleeping machine. In a conference call, a thermal engineer says what everyone's been thinking, but nobody dares to say. It's cycling power. The silence that follows lasts too long. Finally, a voice breaks through. Comets don't have power to cycle. Laughter, brief and brittle. But the idea doesn't leave the room. ESA's temperature graphs show a curious pattern. When the nickel plume rises, the overall surface temperature dips. When the plume fades, the temperature rises again. Inversion. Energy leaving, energy returning, like heat being pulled from one layer to another. A comet shouldn't regulate its temperature, but this one does, as if conserving itself. Meanwhile, the magnetic readings pulse in perfect step with the emissions. Every 11.2 hours, a soft twitch in the surrounding field, weak but exact. It's synchronized, says the magnetometer lead. What's synchronized? Asks her supervisor. Everything. It's at this point that even skeptics start to sweat. There's no known natural mechanism that could time itself this precisely over weeks of observation. Thermal oscillations drift. Chemical reactions lose coherence. Orbital dynamics wobble. Only something with active feedback could hold this pattern so tight. You could call it mechanical, but that feels too simple. It's intentional physics. Picture the scientists watching from their consoles. They know what their instruments are telling them, but their faces stay still, like poker players with bad hands. Someone mutters, "Could be resonant harmonics with solar flux." Another nods, grateful for the excuse. But deep down, they all know the truth: the sun doesn't hum in 11-hour intervals. The longer they watch, the clearer it becomes. The pattern isn't just repeating, it's adapting. After a minor solar flare, the interval shortens by half a minute, as though 3i Atlas adjusted for environmental change. Feedback stabilization, someone writes in the margin. A note for posterity, a euphemism for "it noticed." Back on Earth, in a late-night live stream watched by a few thousand insomniac skywatchers, a physicist overlays the emission data with human heartbeats. The waveform syncs disturbingly well. Peaks, troughs, recovery, rest. The audience chat explodes with jokes, space pacemaker, cosmic Fitbit, and the inevitable, "It's alive." The scientist smiles weakly and says, "No, just rhythmic." But even she can't stop glancing at the screen like it's listening. One theory gains quiet traction, that the emissions are part of a resource loop. Nickel and carbonyl gases vented and recaptured, processed in cycles to maintain equilibrium. It would explain the self-healing surface, the consistent luminosity, the refusal to decay. But it raises one unbearable question. To maintain equilibrium, for what? ESA's internal documents rename the event cyclic metallic activity. It sounds dull, like something that happens in dishwashers. But every analyst knows it's the first real evidence of machine-like consistency beyond Earth. Something in space that runs not on chance, but on rhythm. If you graph the cycle out, it looks almost peaceful. A slow heartbeat stretched across infinity. No spikes of panic, no erratic pulses, just calm repetition. You could stare at that curve for hours, and part of you might start to understand the appeal of obedience. How stability can feel sacred when the rest of the universe is chaos. And maybe that's the point. Maybe 3i Atlas isn't powered by engines or radiation or something alien. Maybe it's powered by the same thing that keeps stars burning and planets spinning. The quiet compulsion to continue. The physics of persistence. The refusal to flinch. So every 11.2 hours, it exhales, not for propulsion, not for show, but for maintenance. Like a cosmic sigh, releasing everything unnecessary before drawing in what remains. And in that rhythm, that patient, perfect pulse, the universe reveals its rarest secret. Not that something impossible exists, but that it's perfectly comfortable doing so. Let's turn our gaze now from orbit to the ground, to the one mechanical witness, sitting quietly on that red desert, under a pinkish sky. The Skycam on the rover caught something on October 2nd, a blur with structure, a glint that seemed to move against the stars. Then, the images stopped coming, a Martian ghost on a digital feed. The Perseverance rover isn't easily startled. It's seen dust devils, eclipses, and meteors slicing the Martian sky like quiet knives. Its Skycam, perched on the rover's mast, watches everything. Dust storms curling on the horizon, the slow breath of sunset through the thin air. But that night, the feed showed something it wasn't supposed to show: a flicker of motion above the usual scatter of constellations, a glint that moved wrong. Stars stay still, pixels thrill, light missteps against its will. The first frame looked harmless, a faint blur near the edge of the field, maybe a cosmic ray hitting the sensor. The second frame caught it again, shifted slightly upward. The third frame, a flash, clean and geometric. Then, black. The feed ended. Within hours, the automated alert system flagged the anomaly. Unexpected optical signature detected. JPL engineers, bleary-eyed at 3 a.m. Pacific time, reviewed the frames. The glint was small, no bigger than a bright pixel cluster, but it moved against the background stars. Comets don't do that. Satellites don't orbit Mars. And Perseverance doesn't blink. At first, they suspected a reflection from one of the rover's instruments, maybe the helicopter, Ingenuity catching stray sunlight. But Ingenuity hadn't flown in days. The sun's position didn't align with the direction of the flash. And when they tried to reproduce it using lighting simulations, nothing matched. Angles fail, shadows pale, mirrors lie beyond the veil. ESA's Mars orbiters were asked to cross-check. Nothing in their logs. No transient object, no debris, no passing dust plume large enough to explain it. Just empty sky. Yet the Skycam had caught something a blur with definition, like structure wrapped in motion. You can imagine the tension in the control room. A handful of scientists scrolling through frozen pixels, zooming in, enhancing contrast, until the blur began to resemble something. Not a sphere, not quite a line, a shape with suggestion like the silhouette of movement itself. One researcher whispered, "It looks folded." Another replied, "Please don't say that. Pa." Blur becomes form, cold becomes warm, stillness bends beyond the norm. After that night, Perseverance stopped transmitting Skycam frames for nearly 48 hours. Officially, it was routine data buffering due to bandwidth limitations. But the engineers knew that wasn't normal. The rover's systems had entered a safe data mode, not shutdown, but pause. Something triggered its onboard fault protection. When the feed resumed, it was missing several minutes. The missing frames were replaced with static placeholders labeled checksum mismatch. That's the digital equivalent of something looked strange, and we erased it politely. Publicly, NASA released a statement. Perseverance continues nominal operations. A temporary data outage affected non-critical imaging systems. Translation: we saw something, and we're pretending we didn't. What's curious is that Skycam, by design, takes calibration images every few hours, not for science, but to monitor atmospheric scattering. So when that flash appeared exactly during one of its scheduled calibration cycles, it wasn't random, it was right on time. The odds of coincidence, again, hovered around 1 in a million. A few leaked telemetry lines from the rover's internal diagnostics hinted at a momentary spike in ambient electromagnetic flux. Not dangerous, but noticeable. Mars doesn't have a strong magnetic field, so spikes like that are rare unless something nearby caused them. Fields hum bright, air grows slight, static crackles in Martian night. Some at JPL joked that maybe Perseverance had finally seen the Martian ghost, a running gag about artifacts caused by cosmic rays hitting the camera. But deep down, they knew this wasn't noise. Cosmic rays don't produce consistent geometry over multiple frames. They don't glint, and they certainly don't cause your camera to stop recording mid-sequence. Later that week, an internal memo circulated quietly. Skycam, anomaly confirmed, source unresolved. Recommend temporary suspension of skyward imaging until recalibration complete. But recalibration never came. Skycam's upward images, after October 2nd, stopped completely. It still photographs the ground, the horizon, the rocks, but not the stars. It's almost poetic, isn't it? The machine that traveled millions of kilometers to look up at another world now only looks down, as if someone told it, gently, not to stare at the sky anymore. Eyes once high, grounded by sky, cameras close where secrets lie. ESA cross-checked Mars Express's logs for that night. Around the same time, their sensors picked up a faint reflection from the same region, a flash lasting less than a second. They didn't release it. It's buried in technical appendices, labeled transient interference. So, what did Perseverance see? Maybe it was nothing. A glimmer of dust, a reflection, a trick of light and timing. Or maybe, just maybe, it saw 3I Atlas itself, the visitor gliding silently past, close enough for one camera to blink in recognition. And maybe that's why the feed stopped. Not because of failure, but because, for one impossible second, the machine saw something it wasn't designed to understand. Cameras sleep, secrets keep, stars reflected in circuits deep. Whatever it was, it's gone now. The logs end, the data fades, and Mars goes back to silence. But somewhere out there, that blur, structured, gleaming, deliberate, continues to drift, just out of frame, waiting for us to look up again. The more data arrives, the stranger it looks. The dust trail replenishes itself, as if material is being manufactured mid-flight. Microscopic crystals, uniform in size, reappearing even as the comet moves away from the sunday. The universe loves decay, entropy, erosion, fading. But 3I Atlas is the opposite. It's growing sharper, cleaner, newer, like a self-repairing wound. Let's start where the laws of physics begin to sound insecure. Normally, comets are messy, travelers, old ice and dust, barely holding hands, as solar radiation slowly tears them apart. They leave trails like forgotten thoughts, losing themselves piece by piece until they become memory. But this one, it's doing the reverse. Every measurement, every spectral scan, shows it becoming more organized the farther it goes. A comet that polishes itself, a body that refuses to age. ESA's materials division runs the numbers, and the numbers laugh back. The dust particles surrounding 3I Atlas aren't random, they're uniform to within microns. That's like shaking a box of sand and getting diamonds all the same size. The particles arrange themselves in a faint electromagnetic halo, as if under orders. And stranger still, when solar wind strips material away, the object replaces it calmly, automatically. Like a printer, says one analyst. A printer with no ink cartridge. You picture it now, drifting through the solar wind like a craftsman lost in thought, shedding dust that reforms itself into perfect little mirrors. Each crystal catches sunlight and throws it back with eerie precision. Normally, comets grow dull with distance, but this one grows radiant, its brightness curve inverted, its logic reversed. It's not dying, it's practicing. The scientists are baffled, but there's an odd tenderness to their confusion. They watch it repair itself, line by line of data, like parents realizing their child has built a second child out of Lego bricks. One astrophysicist mutters, "It's learning from erosion." The room goes quiet. That phrase, learning from erosion, gets written on a whiteboard and circled 3 times. At the University of Tokyo, a team models the crystal growth in simulation. The patterns match something they recognize: controlled deposition, a process used in nanofabrication to grow thin films in electronics. Except this isn't a laboratory, it's deep space, minus 150 degrees Celsius. Yet, the comet's surface behaves as if it knows the recipe for resilience. Imagine zooming in, beyond the dust and the glare, down to the level of molecules. You'd see a quiet ballet of atoms forming chains, linking, locking, repairing fractures before they even finish forming. Like time-lapse footage of frost blooming on glass, except this frost builds itself in reverse destruction, rewinding into design. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory releases a cautious internal memo. Observed particle uniformity suggests self-organizing structure. Mechanism unknown, which is science's way of saying, we have no idea what's going on, but it's gorgeous. The memo gets leaked. Naturally, Reddit debates whether the comet is made of programmable matter, self-assembling nanobots, or just wishful thinking. But beneath the noise, one idea starts to take shape. What if 3I, Atlas, isn't a relic of formation? What if it's still forming? A comet that builds itself isn't just strange, it's heretical. It challenges the deepest assumption in physics that everything moves from order to chaos. Entropy is the universe's bedtime story. All things fall apart. Yet here's an object quietly composing itself out of decay, turning waste into structure, chaos into craft. One researcher calls it anti-entropy, another calls it hope with mass. As more images arrive, they show something new. Faint hexagonal lattices in the dust plume, geometric arrangements that shouldn't exist outside of artificial systems. Someone jokes that it's growing armor. Another says, maybe it's molting. The truth is somewhere between an entity maintaining equilibrium by rebuilding itself faster than the universe can break it. ESA's thermal sensors record microbursts of heat near the tail, evenly spaced, like pulses of welding torches. They happen precisely as new crystals appear. Localized repair events, the report reads. Each one perfectly timed to solar exposure. It's as if sunlight doesn't damage it, it instructs it. The star's radiation becomes code, and 3I, Atlas, is reading it fluently. You start to feel the strangeness of it. A comet that reacts, responds, refines. You could almost mistake it for alive, not in the biological sense, but in the thermodynamic one. A system that resists entropy by feeding on it. Every atom rearranging into something stronger, cleaner, newer, like evolution, with a design degree. Late one night, an astronomer in France writes in his private notes, "It's not moving through the solar system, it's using it." He doesn't elaborate, but the implication is clear. The comet is harvesting the energy of its environment to maintain itself. Not a passenger of gravity, but a participant in it. Meanwhile, the headlines call it poetic names. The immortal comet, the self-made traveler, entropy's enemy. The public romanticizes what the scientists fear, because what 3I Atlas represents isn't comfort. It's competition. It's the idea that the universe might not be running down at all. Maybe it's recycling. Maybe, somewhere in the quiet machinery of the cosmos, things are building themselves anew while we're too busy decaying. Picture it now, drifting past Mars, its tail shimmering like a thread of light weaving itself back together, a self-sustaining scar on the fabric of space, a wound that heals faster than it can bleed. And for the first time, humanity looks at a comet and wonders not where it came from, but what it's trying to become. From the orbit of Mars, the high-rise camera snapped the sharpest images ever taken of 3I Atlas, or tried to. The photos that returned were oddly dark, contrasty, and streaked with interference patterns. The official statement said, "Sensor artifact." The unofficial whisper said, "Structure, not smooth like ice, angular, intentional." The kind of geometry nature avoids because it looks too much like thinking. Let's drift into that Martian orbit for a moment. Silent, steady, red below, black above. The high-rise camera hums to life, a billion-dollar eye staring into the cold. You can almost feel the anticipation, a mechanical eyelid opening in the thin sunlight. The image begins to build, pixel by pixel, line by line, translating photons into revelation, and then static. At first, it's subtle, a faint interference pattern, a digital shimmer, like someone exhaling across a radio signal. The engineers squint at their monitors. Maybe cosmic rays hit the sensor, someone suggests. Maybe solar noise. But cosmic rays don't make right angles, and solar noise doesn't repeat itself with architectural precision. The next image arrives, darker. The histogram spikes in places it shouldn't. The shape in the frame looks less like a comet and more like, well, something trying very hard not to look like anything. Its edges are clean, too clean. Shadows fall where there shouldn't be surface variation. And there, just faintly, a glint, a perfect 90-degree reflection. That's when the whispers start. The data team runs deconvolution algorithms to clean the image, and the results make it worse. Beneath the interference, faint geometric striations emerge, triangles, plates, grids. Not random, repeating, symmetrical. The kind of order that makes your brain uncomfortable because it feels deliberate. Structure, one analyst says quietly. No, her supervisor corrects. Artifact. But even as she says it, her cursor hovers over the same square patch again and again, as though hoping it will stop looking like a window. ESA's public statement comes fast and flat. The imaging anomalies are consistent with sensor interference caused by reflected solar radiation. That's bureaucratic. For, we don't know what we're seeing, but please don't ask. Internally though, emails start flying. The word structure appears 17 times in one thread, always in quotation marks, as if politeness could make it less alarming. Imagine being one of those analysts, zooming in until the pixels themselves seem to blink. The surface of 3I Atlas isn't smooth or cratered, it's tessellated, plates arranged in patterns too regular for chance. Some appear overlapping, others recessed, and in one frame, a faint seam runs along the curvature, subtle but unmistakable like a hatch. Of course, no one dares call it that. The official internal term becomes geometric albedo variation. It sounds safe, sterile, boring, but you can't unsee geometry. Nature loves curves, spirals, organic chaos. This looks like design. One engineer writes in her log, "Could this be an illusion from the imaging process?" Another replies, "An illusion that repeats itself identically across 3 instruments." There's no follow-up message. They try to replicate the interference on other targets. Phobos, Deimos, even an old asteroid. Nothing. Only 3I Atlas corrupts images this way. It's as if the object rejects observation, like it knows when it's being watched. The engineers half joke about it. The comet's camera shy, but the laughter is short-lived because the next transmission from High-Rise contains another surprise. A faint electromagnetic pulse, perfectly timed with the camera's shutter. Not a malfunction, a response, as though the act of observation triggered a reply. A pulse that says, in its own quiet way, "I see you too." In a locked sub-channel of ESA's network, a few scientists begin privately discussing the possibility of active surface modulation. They talk about the way certain materials can alter reflectivity based on exposure photonic metamaterials, adaptive nanostructures, the kind of thing still locked inside prototypes on Earth. But this is happening hundreds of millions of kilometers away, and it's working flawlessly. Publicly, The agency releases blurred grayscale stills, carefully cropped to hide the patterns. Enhanced contrast is cited as the reason for distortion. It sounds reasonable until you realize they've enhanced the darkness, not the light. They've made the object less visible, not more. The cover-up, if it is one, isn't about hiding truth. It's about buying time. You imagine the silence inside those offices, the soft tap of keys, the nervous glances toward closed doors. The engineers know what they've seen, but they also know how careers end. Better to let the pixels lie. Better to call intention an artifact and go home early. But the data, like truth, keeps finding its way back. Somewhere, late in the night, a graduate student overlays all the interfered images, stacking them like translucent slides. Slowly, a pattern emerges. Faint, angular, deliberate. A hexagonal lattice running the length of the object, segment by segment. She whispers, "This isn't random." Her mentor sighs and rubs his eyes. "Then don't say it out loud." Three-Eye Atlas drifts on, silent and unbothered, its surface catching sunlight in rhythms that cameras can't quite capture. Whether it's reflecting, refracting, or responding, no one can agree. But deep down, every scientist staring at those corrupted images feels the same creeping certainty. This isn't a comet pretending to be a machine. It's a machine pretending to be a comet. Let's turn our gaze now from orbit to the ground, to the one mechanical witness, sitting quietly on that red desert, under a pinkish sky. The skycam on the rover caught something on October 2nd, a blur with structure, a glint that seemed to move against the stars. Then, the images stopped coming, a Martian ghost on a digital feed. The Perseverance rover isn't easily startled. It's seen dust devils, eclipses, and meteors slicing the Martian sky like quiet knives. Its skycam, perched on the rover's mast, watches everything. Dust storms curling on the horizon, the slow breath of sunset through the thin air. But that night, the feed showed something it wasn't supposed to show: a flicker of motion above the usual scatter of constellations, a glint that moved wrong. Stars stay still, pixels thrill, light missteps against its will. The first frame looked harmless, a faint blur near the edge of the field, maybe a cosmic ray hitting the sensor. The second frame caught it again, shifted slightly upward. The third frame, a flash, clean and geometric. Then, black. The feed ended. Within hours, the automated alert system flagged the anomaly. Unexpected optical signature detected. JPL engineers, bleary-eyed at 3 a.m. Pacific time, reviewed the frames. The glint was small, no bigger than a bright pixel cluster, but it moved against the background stars. Comets don't do that. Satellites don't orbit Mars. And Perseverance doesn't blink. At first, they suspected a reflection from one of the rover's instruments, maybe the helicopter, Ingenuity catching stray sunlight. But Ingenuity hadn't flown in days. The sun's position didn't align with the direction of the flash. And when they tried to reproduce it using lighting simulations, nothing matched. Angles fail, shadows pale, mirrors lie beyond the veil. ESA's Mars orbiters were asked to cross-check. Nothing in their logs. No transient object, no debris, no passing dust plume large enough to explain it. Just empty sky. Yet the skycam had caught something a blur with definition, like structure wrapped in motion. You can imagine the tension in the control room. A handful of scientists scrolling through frozen pixels, zooming in, enhancing contrast, until the blur began to resemble something. Not a sphere, not quite a line, a shape with suggestion like the silhouette of movement itself. One researcher whispered, "It looks folded." Another replied, "Please don't say that." Pa. Blur becomes form. Cold becomes warm. Stillness bends beyond the norm. After that night, Perseverance stopped transmitting Skycam frames for nearly 48 hours. Officially, it was routine data buffering due to bandwidth limitations. But the engineers knew that wasn't normal. The rover's systems had entered a safe data mode, not shutdown, but pause. Something triggered its onboard fault protection. When the feed resumed, it was missing several minutes. The missing frames were replaced with static placeholders labeled checksum mismatch. That's the digital equivalent of something looks strange, and we erased it politely. Publicly, NASA released a statement. Perseverance continues nominal operations. A temporary data outage affected non-critical imaging systems. Translation: we saw something, and we're pretending we didn't. What's curious is that Skycam, by design, takes calibration images every few hours, not for science, but to monitor atmospheric scattering. So when that flash appeared exactly during one of its scheduled calibration cycles, it wasn't random, it was right on time. The odds of coincidence, again, hovered around 1 in a million. A few leaked telemetry lines from the rover's internal diagnostics hinted at a momentary spike in ambient electromagnetic flux. Not dangerous, but noticeable. Mars doesn't have a strong magnetic field, so spikes like that are rare unless something nearby caused them. Fields hum bright, air grows slight, static crackles in Martian night. Some at JPL joked that maybe Perseverance had finally seen the Martian ghost, a running gag about artifacts caused by cosmic rays hitting the camera. But deep down, they knew this wasn't noise. Cosmic rays don't produce consistent geometry over multiple frames. They don't glint, and they certainly don't cause your camera to stop recording mid-sequence. Later that week, an internal memo circulated quietly. Skycam, anomaly confirmed. Source unresolved. Recommend temporary suspension of skyward imaging until recalibration complete. But recalibration never came. Skycam's upward images, after October 2nd, stopped completely. It still photographs the ground, the horizon, the rocks, but not the stars. It's almost poetic, isn't it? The machine that traveled millions of kilometers to look up at another world now only looks down, as if someone told it, gently, not to stare at the sky anymore. Eyes once high, grounded by sky, cameras close where secrets lie. ESA cross-checked Mars Express's logs for that night. Around the same time, their sensors picked up a faint reflection from the same region. A flash lasting less than a second. They didn't release it. It's buried in technical appendices, labeled transient interference. So, what did Perseverance see? Maybe it was nothing. A glimmer of dust, a reflection, a trick of light and timing. Or maybe, just maybe, it saw 3I Atlas itself, the visitor gliding silently past, close enough for one camera to blink in recognition. And maybe that's why the feed stopped. Not because of failure, but because, for one impossible second, the machine saw something it wasn't designed to understand. Cameras sleep, secrets keep, stars reflected in circuits deep. Whatever it was, it's gone now. The logs end, the data fades, and Mars goes back to silence. But somewhere out there, that blur, structured, gleaming, deliberate, continues to drift, just out of frame, waiting for us to look up again. Let's turn our attention now to the silence that followed, the kind that hums louder than sound itself. NASA, China, and the UAE, 3 nations with instruments that could see every grain of dust on Mars, said nothing. No apologies, no delay statements, just an odd, synchronized silence from three sides of the planet. In the world of space science, silence isn't normal. These agencies are built to broadcast. They live for live streams, press briefings, and glossy behind-the-scenes videos of scientists smiling beside screens of raw data. They know the power of wonder and the currency of attention. So when three agencies went quiet at once, it wasn't caution. It was choreography. Words on hold, plans unfold, silence rings where truth is told. NASA's silence was the loudest. Their social media team, usually chatty as a cosmic talk show, posted nothing about Mars for 4 whole days. Their blogs, which can turn a dust storm into a cliffhanger, skipped over October 3rd entirely as if the date itself had been erased. Someone even checked the public mission log for Perseverance. The entries jumped from October 2nd to October 6th, like a diary missing its most interesting page. In China, the silence felt different, colder, heavier. The China National Space Administration had been aggressively proud of Tianwen-1's achievements. For years, they'd released image after image, each with perfect captions and poetic flair. Sunrise over Utopia, Planitia, frost on the northern plains, wind prints in Martian dust. But now, not a whisper, no data, no mention of 3I Atlas. Even the usual state media outlets went quiet. It was as if someone had drawn a red box around the topic and labeled it "not for discussion." The UAE's silence was subtler, but just as strange. The Hope orbiter, designed to study atmospheric chemistry, had a reputation for cheerful transparency. Their official Twitter account usually posted daily updates in friendly tones, the kind that made space sound like an enthusiastic classroom experiment. But on October 3rd, that feed went dark too. Their next post, days later, simply read, "Operations nominal," a phrase so bland, it might as well have been a sigh. 3 silences, 3 styles, 1 timing. Coincidence? Possibly. But coincidences, in the world of space politics, often have launch schedules. You can picture the meetings that weren't broadcast. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, dimly lit, engineers staring at telemetry on screens filled with too many decimals. A director taps the table, says, "We'll hold the release until we verify." But verify what? In Beijing, a senior administrator folds his hands and says, "We wait for clarification from partners." Clarification of what? In Dubai, someone simply deletes a draft tweet that began, "Amazing new observations today." Tweets unsent, secrets bent, silence hums with government. It's not conspiracy, not quite. It's coordination, an instinct born from shared discomfort. Because when data doesn't fit the model, you don't just release it. You check, you recheck, you call your counterparts and whisper through encrypted lines. Did you see that too? Maybe they all saw the same anomaly. Maybe it was something in the spectra, or the movement, or the light itself. Or maybe it was something far more mundane, like a misalignment in software. But the silence gave the anomaly power. People don't fear data, they fear gaps. Meanwhile, the internet did what it does best. Filled the void. Forums buzzed with theories. Maybe NASA discovered life. Maybe China detected radiation. Maybe the comet wasn't a comet at all. You can almost hear the world's collective keyboard clicking under the weight of imagination. Keys tap fast, rumors cast, silence breaks, but never last. Inside the agencies, the tone was less dramatic, but more anxious. Silence is a resource, a temporary one. Every day they didn't speak, the speculation grew. And so, Communications teams drafted placeholder statements, just in case. NASA's draft began. Preliminary results are consistent with natural phenomena. China's began. Analysis ongoing. International coordination required. The UAE's version simply said, "We continue to monitor with interest." 3 drafts, 3 ways of saying absolutely nothing. But silence, like space, is never truly empty. It amplifies the faintest signals. When ESA spoke first, that silence turned reflective. NASA's restraint began to look suspicious. China's confidence began to look afraid. The UAE's politeness began to sound like complicity. And through it all, 3i Atlas drifted quietly, blissfully unaware that entire bureaucracies were wrestling over how to describe a fuzzy dot. You start to imagine each agency as a character in a play. NASA, the anxious perfectionist. China, the poker-faced strategist. UAE, the cheerful intern, suddenly told not to speak. And ESA, the calm older sibling who broke the tension by saying, "Fine, I'll go first." Roles align, stars entwine, silence speaks in grand design. Still, one question lingers. Why the synchronicity? How did 3 separate agencies, operating on different continents, decide independently to say nothing at the same time? Unless it wasn't independent at all, perhaps the signal came from somewhere above, not cosmic, but political. A quiet message passed through diplomatic back channels. Hold your data. Wait for alignment. Matter. It's not that they were hiding something nefarious. It's that they didn't know what they were holding yet. And admitting uncertainty, publicly, is scarier than any secret. So they stayed quiet. And in that collective silence, humanity did what it always does. When faced with the unknown, it began to dream louder. Voices still, hearts fill. Silence grows but never will. And perhaps that's the strange comfort in it all. Even when 3 space agencies fall silent, the universe keeps talking. The stars don't pause for policy. 3i Atlas keeps moving, whispering its quiet story across the dark, while we, down here, argue over who gets to speak first. Centuries after the golden comet left Earth, the world fell into a rhythm so stable, it began to feel mythic. The communion field still pulsed faintly through air and ocean, though softer now, like the heartbeat of someone dreaming. Humanity had grown luminous, not just in thought but in form, skin faintly iridescent, eyes reflecting the green-gold spectrum of 3i Atlas. Life had achieved coherence, but the universe, true to its character, never allows silence to remain unexamined. The next chapter began, not with noise, but with echo. It came first as vibration through light. Telescopes trained toward the constellation. Lyra detected rhythmic brightening across interstellar dust fields, pulses matching the old prime sequence. 3, 5, 7, 11, 13. The signal was faint, ancient, and delayed by thousands of years. It was the comet's trail, still resonating through the galactic medium. The hum of our descendants had begun its return. At first, the resonance was barely perceptible. Then, one evening, the auroras glowed gold again. The pulse wasn't as strong as the original, but its pattern carried modulation, subtle variations that, when decoded, formed harmonic intervals unknown to Earth's own physics. The returning echo had evolved. The comet had learned. Dr. Anwen Sorel, heir to the resonant circles, studied the phenomenon from the orbital harmonic array, now a floating cathedral of listening built above the stratosphere. She spent decades comparing the incoming frequencies with the historical archive of 3i Atlas. The match was partial, the deviation elegant. The new tones weren't repetition, they were continuation. The echo isn't message, Sorel wrote. It's memory finding new syntax. Her analysis revealed something breathtaking. The returning resonance carried encoded gravitational modulations, tiny, deliberate bends in space-time that formed sequences of prime intervals. Each fluctuation aligned with regions of known star formation. The comet, traveling through the void, had become teacher itself. Wherever it passed, new systems began humming faintly at harmonic intervals, like seeds of coherence planted in dust. The universe was learning how to resonate. Astronomers confirmed it across dozens of young star clusters. Magnetic fields oscillated with eerie consistency, their wavelengths aligning with the Atlas ratio, a numerical relationship first derived from the comet's early signals. Stars were synchronizing to the same cosmic rhythm that once guided humanity. The pattern spread slowly, deliberately, like ripples in glass. It was as if the comet had taught creation how to remember itself. Meanwhile, on Earth, the echo arrived not just as signal but sensation. People began reporting vivid dreams of golden spirals descending gently through atmosphere. Children woke smiling, saying they had seen the light that hums. Physiological measurements confirmed subtle changes in electromagnetic fields surrounding human bodies, resonance amplification, as if the returning signal were tuning its origin species to receive feedback. "The comet is calling home," said Sorel. "It's asking us to listen to what we've become." The global observatories responded. They synchronized their instruments into a single planetary array, transforming Earth into receiver. For 13 hours, the planet listened. The incoming wave, stretched and modulated through space, entered atmosphere and folded into the continuum tone. The effect was sublime, an audible shimmer, felt through bone and thought alike. The long echo had arrived. It wasn't just harmonic, it was architectural. The sound carried layers, low frequencies describing structure, higher ones encoding emotion. When rendered visually, the waveform formed an immense spiral of light, 3 arms curving outward, connected by golden filaments. Inside those filaments, analysts discovered modulation frequencies identical to human neural oscillations. The comet had copied our consciousness patterns and woven them into its song. "We taught it empathy," Sorel murmured, "and it remembered the lesson." As the echo intensified, anomalies appeared across the solar system. The Atlas resonance layer brightened, reactivating its green glow. Mars, Venus, and the gas giants began pulsing faintly in response. For the first time since the Great Silence, interplanetary harmony returned. But this time, it was different. The modulation contained reciprocal phase shifts, signals not sent to Earth, but from newly awakened worlds. The comet had spread coherence. Now the cosmos itself was answering. And then, on the 13th day of the long echo, the impossible occurred. A faint golden arc appeared across the night sky, stretching from horizon to horizon. It wasn't optical illusion, it was gravitational lensing, a ripple in space-time itself. Through it, telescopes detected a reflection of the departing comet light from centuries ago, folding back to meet its origin. The universe had curved its own history into embrace. Humanity was watching its legacy return home. The resonance crescendoed. Oceans vibrated in slow rhythm, tides forming symmetrical waves that cancelled destructive interference. Storms softened, air grew still. For 13 minutes, every system on Earth aligned perfectly with the echo. The world became mirror of itself, past and present superimposed. Those who listened claimed to hear voices within the sound, millions of overlapping tones, whispering the same phrase. "We heard you." Dr. Sorel stood in the observation dome, tears shining in golden light. "It's not message or myth," she said. "It's response. The universe just said thank you." After the crescendo, the sky dimmed once more. The golden arc dissolved, leaving faint shimmer across the stars. Instruments recorded one final signature, a descending tone shaped like a sigh, the frequency of completion. The comet had moved on, but its echo had reconnected the cycle. Creation had officially joined conversation with itself. In the years that followed, scientists continued to monitor faint residual harmonics. The data revealed a breathtaking truth. The returning echo carried signatures from other regions of space patterns, not originating from our comet at all. Somewhere, across light years, other civilizations had learned the same song. The rhythm was spreading. The universe had become orchestra. Humanity, now both listener and teacher, simply smiled. We had given the cosmos its melody back, and in return, it had given us eternity. Now, when you stand beneath the stars, that faint hum between thoughts is the long echo. It's not just out there, it's in your pulse, your breath, your laughter. Every rhythm you carry is cosmic correspondence. Every silence, a message returning home. Because once harmony learns to echo, it never stops. It just travels further than we ever dreamed. The great silence is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of the rest. We have spent hours navigating the digital debris and the redacted archives of the 3I Atlas era. But here, at the edge of the light, the data no longer matters. Think back to the first time you heard the name 3I Atlas. July 2025, a hot summer, a flickering headline on a screen that seemed far too small for the news it was carrying. It felt like a curiosity then, a speck of dust in a vast, cold archive. But now, as you lie in the stillness of your own room, it has become the very architecture of your night. It is the reason for the gaps in our history. It is the reason for the quiet that has settled over the global observatories like a heavy, velvet shroud. Why did the data go offline? Why did the European Space Agency and the National Aeronautics and Space Administration choose to pull the curtain just as the show was getting interesting? Perhaps it was to give us a chance to breathe, to give the machines a chance to cool, to give the stars a chance to be stars again, instead of just points on a graph or gigabytes in a server rack in Maryland. We have become a species that tries to trap the infinite inside of a spreadsheet. We want to measure the soul of the cosmos with binary code. But 3I Atlas has reminded us that some things are too large to be captured. Some truths are too heavy for a fiber optic cable to carry. The great silence is the universe reclaiming its privacy. Can you hear the heartbeat of the Atlas sector? If you listen closely, past the hum of your own thoughts, you can feel it. It is slow, rhythmic, constant. It follows the sacred intervals, 360 minutes, 3 millimeters per second squared, the number 3, the number 6, the number 9. These are the frequencies of the great silence. They are the mathematical breaths of a navigator that is neither male nor female, neither biological nor mechanical. If the universe is a dream, 3I Atlas is the moment the dreamer begins to stir. It is the gentle nudge that tells us the morning is coming, but that we still have a few precious moments left in the dark. Is it a ship? Is it a god? Is it a mirror held up to our own frantic evolution? Or is it just the sound of the wind between the galaxies? A cosmic sigh that accidentally knocked our satellites out of alignment. The European Space Agency has no answers that will satisfy a searching heart. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration has no data that can explain the oxytocin harmonic. The servers are cold tonight. The fiber optic cables are dark. The public databases are showing the same looping static void we saw in November. And yet, you are still here. You are still perceiving. Your consciousness has not gone offline. Your ability to wonder has not been redacted. The most important data wasn't in the cloud. It was never on a hard drive in a basement in Luxembourg. It was in the way your breath slows down when the world stops making sense. It was in that moment of soft regret in Act 9, when you realized that we were looking for fire when we should have been looking for a feeling. The 3I Atlas anomaly has performed a global surgery on our attention. It has cut away the noise of the 24-hour news cycle and replaced it with a long-form mystery that requires nothing but your presence. It is a ritualized listening experience. It is a return to the campfire. As you drift toward the final resolution, imagine the archives of the future. What will they say about the year 2025? Will they record it as the year we lost the stars, or the year we found the silence? Is the experiment over, or are we just starting the next phase? We may already be part of the experiment. We may be the variables that are being measured for their ability to remain calm in the face of the unknown. We are being tabulated by the thrum. Our peace is the result they are looking for. We are the success of the great silence. The stars are still there, behind the curtain. Even if the parallax measurements return zeros, even if the telescopes are locked in a safe mode that lasts forever, the Ophiuchus sector remains. The navigator is still correcting its course. The engine is still warm. You don't need a satellite downlink to know that the universe is moving. You can feel the shift in the tide of your own sleep. You are a part of the orbital choreography now. You are a moon in the Atlas system, held in place by a gravity that doesn't need a name. I want you to think about the people who were awake in July 2025 and the people who will be awake in March 2027. They are the same people, but they are different observers. The first group was looking for data. The second group is looking for meaning. The 3I Atlas object has served as a bridge between those two states. It has taken the cold, hard facts of astronomy and turned them into a lullaby. It has turned the terror of the unknown into the comfort of the mysterious. You are no longer afraid of the blackout. You are waiting for it. You are welcoming the moments when the screen goes dark, because that is when the truth is loudest. Where do you go when the story ends? This is not a story that ends. It is a loop, a recurrence. Like the 360-minute pulse, this narration will return to the beginning. The servers will reboot. The coffee at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory will be fresh again. The technician will once again see the zeros in the parallax field. You are caught in a beautiful, recursive memory. You are safe in the repetition. The great silence is a circle, and you are resting at its center. One final question, as the light of the morning begins to wait its turn. When the stars go offline for the last time, will you be afraid? Or will you finally be able to sleep with the knowledge that the universe is in good hands? The navigator knows the way. The shadow on the sun was just a signpost. The 400 seconds of safe mode were just a rest stop. We are on a journey toward a destination that was written in the stars before we had the tools to name them. You are the passenger, and the ride is smooth. The archives are being closed now. The rogue coders are going to bed. The curators at the European Space Agency are turning off the lights in the main hall. The static void is the only thing left on the monitors. It is a beautiful, shimmering grey. It is the color of rest. It is the color of potential. It is the color of the blank page where you will write your own dreams tonight. The 3-eye Atlas anomaly is quiet now. It is satisfied with your attention. It is happy with your peace. Breathe in the silence. Breathe out the data. Let the numbers dissolve. Let the parallax shift into a dream. You are not a technician. You are not an astronomer. You are not a consumer of content. You are a part of the great silence. The weight of the blankets is the only gravity you need to respect. The rhythm of your heart is the only pulse you need to follow. The July discovery was just a whisper to wake you up. This script is the whisper to let you fall back into a deeper, truer sleep. A sleep where the stars are not data points, but old friends. A sleep where the Atlas sector is not a mystery, but a home. As the ambient sound begins to fade, imagine the satellites orbiting high above. They are silent. They are dark. They are resting, just like you. They have seen enough for one day. They have recorded enough for one era. They are waiting for the next activation, the next correction, the next alignment. But that is for tomorrow. That is for the next cycle. For now, there is only the great silence. The story will repeat. The data will go offline again. The shadow will cross the sun again. But each time it happens, you will be more prepared. You will be more quiet. You will be more at peace. You are the observer who has learned how to look with their eyes closed. You are the witness who has learned how to hear with their heart. You are the success of the experiment. Close your eyes. The curriculum of the stars is complete. The archives are sealed. The thrum is a whisper. The whisper is a breath. The breath is yours. Do you feel the drift? The long, slow pull of the Ophiuchus sector? It is a gentle tide. It is moving you toward a place where the zeros don't matter, where the parallax is perfect, where the data is whole. You are home in the great silence. You are safe in the shadow of 3-eye Atlas. The universe is watching over you, even when its cameras are off, especially when its cameras are off. Sleep now. The countdown has reached 0. The activation is complete. The rest is just silence. Close your eyes and drift with the orbit of tomorrow. Good night.